Good afternoon, chat. Actually, almost good evening, actually. But anyways, a big freaking day. A lot of stuff has happened. We got some Diddy news and some big Bryan Kohberger news. Yeah. And maybe we might. Well, I'm hoping. Well, I'm wondering if we can have a guest come on for the Coberger stuff. But wait to hear back from them. But in the meantime, we are going to do. Yes, attorney is here. Yes. Anyways, we are going to start with the Diddy stuff because I think that's the biggest thing here. It's the biggest thing, guys. So, anyways, welcome to the show. If you guys are new, my name's Sean. I'm potentially criminal. I'm an attorney in the Cleveland, Ohio area, and today, some legal stuff happened. So I guess we're going to cover it because this is a law channel after all. I think this is a law channel, or it may not have been a law channel. Well, shh. Hoping she come on, but I don't know if she's busy. It's a little short notice for her, I understand. But maybe she come on and we can cope about there being no Coberger trial. Real quick, EDW after for $10 says, "Good afternoon, Dark Side, Sean." Hey, babe. I love you so much. I love you so much right now. Just what trials are reviewing after this? Well, I don't know, guys. If we meet the goal, we'll do a Dark Side Sean reacts to a trial. We got to meet all the goals. I enjoy you complaining about the developers. You're very. I've built my own hell. Thank you, EDW. Clyde is the only guess you need. What's that black rectangle in the corner? Oh, it was an overlay. I don't know why it's on, but oh well. Fix that. Take care of that. Don't know why I was still up there. Do you have a review of the Baldo on your channel? Yes. How many goals to put the hat on? Well, you got to meet the goals, chat. Maybe we'll do a Sean reacts to a trial, and I'll put on the hat. Maybe I'll put on a vest. I should cover the Royal Valley trial. Yeah, there's a couple of them we need to get to. Let's see here. All right, guys. So it is time, though. It is time. Courtney Clenny is still going to trial. It's just the prosecution screwed up real bad and kind of put everything in a tailspin. So we can do Royal Valley, but we got to catch up on that at some point. So what did this show that Diddy's a monster? I mean, it showed he's a fucking creep. But the jury doesn't believe, when you start screaming about like, why sex traffic? Well, were you paid? Yeah. Okay. Well, it just sounds like prostitution then, not sex trafficking. So that's the issue there. So if you guys were not aware, Diddy's trial has been going. The jury yesterday had verdicts on 4 of 5 charges. It apparently looks like they were deadlocked on the RICO charge. And if you guys were not aware, the Diddler got 3. The Diddler won on 3 of 5. He won on 3 of 5 things, guys, and that's impressive. He beat RICO. I mean, guys, this is RICO right here. He beat a RICO charge. That's gangster. He beat a RICO case. So, I mean, like that's pretty impressive. So Diddy won on RICO. He won on the sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, the Mann Act. He won on that one. He also won on count 4, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion. He won on like the 3. If he had to lose, he lost on the ones that it's best to lose on. Now, transportation and engage in prostitution, yeah, those aren't like not big deals. But he's looking at up to 10 years on each one. He's looking at up to 10 years, which, I mean, really sucks. Really, really sucks. But given the alternative, it's a lot better than what it could be. A lot better than what it could be. So. Ain't no way Diddy beat RICO. RICO could have tossed Cassie right over the mountains. So he has won. But yeah, he won. He got 10 years each. consecutive be so sweet? I don't think so. I don't think so. He has no record. That. But the issue now is, and today it's happening about right now is he going to get out on bail? And that's where we're going to move into what's going on from here. And real quick though, there is some celebration going. I think you guys should see it. There have been some celebration parties happening. There's some Diddy people outside the courthouse. They're literally hosing themselves down with baby oil. It's like, I don't know. I wouldn't be that proud if I was a Diddy fan. Anyone, you're like, ugh. But hey, whatever. Okay. Thank you, honey. We'll get to that. I like how her taser about to pop out. The camera guy's like, oh, I gotta move away. Okay, yeah, we gotta be careful. Can't let her Tobbies flop out there on YouTube. But yeah, that's yeah. They had a freak off out in the street. Rowan says, can he get fresh Cambodian breast milk while in jail? I don't know. His son's still looking at charges. A lot of people are still looking at charges. Just right now, Diddy's big stuff is done. So that's very good. That's very true, Lolo. Now, from here, there were some other reactions real quick, though. This one's pretty funny. This is Diddy every time one of the not guilties came back. Just not very happy. Not very happy. So that's just some of what's going on there. Now, when you talk about bail, Diddy's first charges, the Mann Act and the RICO stuff, were mandatory prison terms, extended prison terms, one of them almost being life if you did them all. So there's a presumption he was held without bail. There was already a presumption, the court agreed, so they kept him there. But now, well, things are a little different. But guess what the government... So the government, his verdict came in and they wanted bail, and they have the right to ask for bail. So the government went ahead and filed its motion. And remember, guys, we talked about this before. In the East Coast, you do letters. This is a very common way of doing it. You file a letter with the court instead of a motion, but you type out a letter in letter form, but you argue it. And this is their argument for what happens to Diddy here. So they point out that this is a 7-week-long jury trial. It was a 7-week jury trial. It was a 7-week jury trial, and the defendant was found guilty of 2 counts. But you notice it's like, what about the rest of it? They say, though, because detention is mandatory under the Bail Reform Act, he's not entitled. So, well, anyways, let's get to this. Now, this is where they're going to church it up and make it sound really bad. Over the course of 7 weeks, the jury heard evidence of the defendant's violence, interstate transportation of individuals for prostitution, drug use, distribution, and attempts to escape law enforcement detection. This conduct spanned 2 decades. At trial, the defendant did not walk away from these facts. They say, indeed, the defendant embraced the fact that he was a drug user who regularly engaged in domestic abuse. And they said, rather, the defendant argued that his repeated violence, despite the repeated violence, he did not engage in sex trafficking. And despite his prolific drug use, he did not engage in racketeering activity. And that was part of Diddy's defense. The jury subsequently included defendant accounts on the racketeering and the sex trafficking. The defendant was convicted of 2 counts of violating the Mann Act by transporting girlfriends, and male commercial sex workers interstate. And now this is the problem here. Girlfriends, that counts too now? For the purpose of engaging in acts of prostitution. Specifically, the defendant caused these individuals to travel interstate for the purpose of engaging in freak-offs or hotel nights. An elaborate multi-day sex performances involving drug use the defendant directed, masturbated during, and often filmed. The evidence presented showed that the defendant did this repeatedly, including after the defendant undisputably knew he was under federal investigation. Now, that's interesting. So even after he knew the feds were looking, he still did this apparently. It was just like, Jesus Christ, man. That's interesting. That is really interesting. That is interesting. I mean, like, you're like, wow, buddy. Wow, buddy. Like, you're like, woof, oof, oof, oof. Oh my God, you guys are. Oh, yes, I thought this was America. It's a little more America. So they say, they keep moving here. Additionally, the facts introduced to trial show other things that he serially abused his former girlfriend. Okay, that's not a crime, though. Notice, now they're left with saying all the bad shit we brought in. Well, it's not a crime, Judge, but we want to show you how bad Diddy is. Because they don't have enough on their other shit. He's not been accused of domestic violence. He's like the gay John Gotti. Wolf. So, and they say that Miss Ventura sustained injuries from many assaults. One assault took place, was captured on surveillance video. We watched that one where he drags her down the hallway. They say this is far from the only assault that the defendant perpetrated on Miss Ventura. Trial testimony from multiple witnesses recounted numerous other instances of abuse in which the defendant slapped, kicked, and dragged Ventura by the hair. Okay, but that's not a crime here. You're not in charge of that. And despite the claim in social media that he was a changed man following the leak of surveillance video, the defendant continued to engage in violent conduct. In June 2024, he choked, kicked, and punched the girlfriend, Jane, and then directed her to take drugs and to perform in a freak-off. Well, he would have shown her how much do you love me? Do a freak-off. He says this incident occurred months after the defendant's residences were searched by federal agents. When the defendant unquestionably understood he was under federal investigation for sex trafficking by force, fraud, and coercion. Okay, that's not good. Ooh, oof. Facts of trials show the defendant regularly bought and consumed drugs, including drugs that he provided to Miss Ventura and Jane. In addition to the 2024 incident, the defendant also engaged in other criminal conduct while he was aware he was under investigation. During the March searches, law enforcement recovered narcotics and 3 separate firearms with the face serial numbers. Further evidence at trial established the defendant engaged in transportation for purposes of prostitution with Jane as recently as August 2024, a mere month before his arrest, where Jane had sex with an escort in front of the defendant at the defendant's 2-star island residence. They say indeed Diddy was trying to fly Jane to New York for that same purpose in September, mere days before his arrest. In September, at the time of his arrest, they recovered $9,000 cash and drugs, including Molly and ketamine, from the defendant's room. Now, I talk about the federal guideline calculations, and this is, guys, I've mentioned this before, and maybe this is something I'll do a video on, because it's the federal guidelines are like, it's an entire book. It's an entire book you can get, and it's like a bullet stopper. That's how big it is. But the guidelines for the feds, they work off something important here, and they work off the chart. It's a sentencing table, and there are all kinds of things you can do to move yourself up and down in the sentencing guidelines. And the biggest things are, it's not, there's zones, and the zones aren't a big deal. Like you see like zone A, zone B, zone C, like not a big deal, not a big deal, not a big deal. It's the criminal history categories 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Notice that's where, if you look at some of these crimes, your sentencing guidelines start accelerating and you start getting more and more time. Obviously, if you go down the chart, it goes that way. Charlie, what's up, man? But as you go from left to right, it gets a lot fucking worse. It gets a lot worse on these. So we're going to break this down in a second, how this actually works here. Hold on, chat. We're going to actually... Why will this not work here? Come on. There we go. This is what we were trying to get earlier, and it just wanted to fight me. It just wanted to fight. Why is this... Cancel out. There we go. So... You know, obviously the zones aren't a big deal. The zones are not the big deal here. This is not a big deal. This is your big deal right here. Because look how fast things accelerate. Depending on your criminal history. It's really bad. So. The government's getting back to its calculations. They say the guideline application to count 3 is United States Sentencing Guidelines, that's USSG, 2G1.1. Pursuant the offense base level, the base offense level is 14. Now, how do you move your offense levels? Well, did you accept responsibility? Did you use a firearm in the commission of it? There's a bunch of different ways you can make your sentencing guidelines go up or down, but the base level is 14. Okay. The applicable guideline to count 5 is the same. The offense base level is 14. Nice of your grouping analysis, because these involve more than one victim. Chapter 3, Part D. And notice that's how big this is. Chapter 3, Part D is applied. The sentencing guidelines are fucking massive. And if you guys want to like just download a copy of them, you can from the sentence. They have the sentencing commission. They have their own, they have a sentencing commission. And they have a guidelines manual. And you could download it for free. You can read it. Or you can buy it as a book. Like they even have an app for it. But the guidelines app, just so you guys are aware, it's 600 pages. It's 600 pages. Look at all of this. Look at all this stuff you can do. This is just for the federal government. Like, this is all the supplements and appendices, and they have a supplement to appendix. They have a lot of things here. So they say, though, this is applied if the promoting or commercial sex actor. They say, because there are more than 6 victims and each victim is as if they had been contained separate counts of convictions, there are more than 5 groups. Each group has an offense level at 14. And they say, setting aside Cassie Ventura and Jane, the evidence showed the defendant transported 7 escorts. Jules Theodore, Clayton Howard, Julian Sapp, Cabral Williams, Paul Arthur, and Michael A. Jawolko, a.k.a. Reggie, and Rico Bozant for the purposes of doing this. So accordingly, there are more than 6 victims. And they say victim means a person who's been transported, persuaded, induced, enticed, or coerced. Okay. So calculating that, because there are 5 groups are all equally serious, the offense level is 19. So notice, we're already starting out. You're like, okay, well, this doesn't seem too bad. You know, like, okay, so you like, let's move over here. Let's move over to the thing here. Sentencing table. Okay, you start at 14, 15 to 21 months. Okay. Okay, that's not so bad. I mean, it's not good, but Diddy gets credit for time served. Cool. We go down to number 19, though. Look, you now start at 30 to 37 months. You're like, uh-oh, that's not good. That's not good. They say then they move on to the enhancements. Because the defendant was a manager or supervisor and the activity was otherwise extensive, 3 levels are added. So now we're to 22. And they say it was very extensive. When you say that was it extensive, all persons involved during the course of the entire offense. And they say here the evidence of trial showed the defendant used the services of many of his employees, including his chief of staff, Christina Coram, his travel advisor, his security staff, and his assistants. And they say even if all the employees were unknowing participants, their assistance satisfies the criteria for an enhancement. And they say because he willfully obstructed, impeded, or attempted to obstruct or impede the administration of justice, 2 more levels are added. So now we're at the 25. We're at the level 25. You know, when he attempts to pay off security guards, that's obstructing justice. You know, everything he does is a problem that they will use against him. So he talks about November 2024, he attempted to feed Jane a false narrative regarding her participation. So they say, accordingly, the offense totals for counts 3 and 5 is 24. Are they sure that's not 25? Because at night, hold on, 19, 3 levels. Yeah, it's 24, not 25. Based on the current understanding, he has 0 criminal history points. So that means he's in category 1, which is good. Remember, guys, you have to stay, like, these categories are critical. These categories are what really make or break you when you're dealing with the federal guidelines. So he's going to be in criminal category 1, which is good. But right now, we're down to number 24, level 24. Uh-oh. Now we're down to 51 to 63 months. Oh, buddy. Ooh, buddy. That's going fast. Based on the preliminary calculations set forth, the defendant's guideline range leaves 51 to 63 months imprisonment. Well, there you go, chat. I hadn't read this yet, and I'm like, bam, it's like I know what I'm doing. Whoop-ow. Uh-oh. That's not good. That's not good. But there's more. There's more. They say the guidelines applicable in sentencing may be higher than this preliminary calculation. They have not time to adequately, carefully consider all guidelines. For example, the court is aware that they overlap substantially with the sex trafficking counts. And they say much of the conduct not included in the guidelines is not included in the guidelines of acquitted conduct and may be relevant. Why does he not qualify for certain things? Well, it's a sex offense. He allegedly used violence. So there's all kinds of issues. The government seeks an application of a 4-point enhancement because of fraud and coercion. And the government requires additional time. And guys, if you read through the sentencing guidelines, there's so many ways the government can fuck you. Okay. And now they say the Bail Reform Act governs whether a defendant is eligible for release. Under the Bail Reform Act, detention is mandatory for defendants convicted of certain specified crimes of violence. Now they say the crime of violence is generally to be detained pending sentencing. And they say a violation of the Mann Act is considered a crime of violence. Now notice, this is from the District of Connecticut. This isn't a Second Circuit case. So this is not actually very compelling arguments at this point. Notice that's all they've got. They don't have Second Circuit. They don't have Supreme Court. If they had something better, they would use it. And right now they don't have it. Now, what do they say? The crime of violence under 18 U.S.C. 3156 includes any felony under Chapter 117 and a violation of the Mann Act falls under Chapter 117. I think that's a far stronger argument than a court that doesn't fucking matter. So, yes, it's not the Woman Act. Yes, I know. It's so racist and misogynist. Okay. How did that fill up already? Okay. They say when a defendant's been convicted of a crime and is awaiting sentencing, as the defendant is here, it provides a court shall order the defendant be detained unless there is a likelihood that a motion for acquittal or a new trial will be granted, or an attorney for the government has recommended that no sentence of imprisonment be imposed, and the court finds by clear and convincing evidence the person is not likely to flee or pose a danger to any other person. Now, the defendant has to fill both prongs, and the defendant must demonstrate by clear and convincing evidence that he's not likely to flee and not a danger of safety to anybody. Now, they say there is, and they say also absent the government's recommendation of no prison time, you can't meet the standard. It's impossible. And they say that this is important because this all permits a limited safety valve for mandatory detention. You can also show why there are exceptional reasons why the person's detention would not be appropriate. And they say that circumstances that are purely personal do not typically rise to the level of exceptional and warrant release. So what are the issues here? What are the issues here? Well, they say that as detention is mandatory following the Mann Act, the government's been unable to locate a case in which a defendant was released from custody following such a conviction. Well, that's a problem here. And they say here, there is yet a heightened burden that the defendant must carry now that he's been convicted of 2 felonies because of his mandatory detention. And I say, even if it wasn't mandatory, the defendant cannot meet his burden to show by clear and convincing evidence he's not likely to flee. And they say, first of all, he continues to be a flight risk. The minimum guidelines he's facing are 51 to 63 months. So a little over 4.5 to 5 years. And the sentencing guidelines may be higher. There's a possibility of a substantial sentence here. And that's a big deal. Like, the more you're facing, the more likely you are to flee. And while the defendant is offered to have multiple sureties from his family, the evidence of a trial established the defendant repeatedly sought to conceal his criminal conduct from those close to him. And they say, second, there's no proof that he isn't a danger. He's clearly a danger to the community. There's overwhelming evidence, which the defendant did not dispute, that he engaged in a years-long pattern of abuse and violence as recently as June 2024, right before his arrest. And that despite knowledge he was under federal investigation, he brutally assaulted Jane, leaving injuries that were visible for days. And additionally, when he traveled to New York City, where, according to defense counsel, he was waiting to be arrested, he was in possession of drugs and materials necessary for a freak-off. And his conduct after he understood he was going to be under federal investigation underscores that he's continuing to be a danger. Yeah. And they're just saying, look, he's so dangerous. Even when he knew the feds were looking at him, he didn't lay low. He didn't get better about things. He didn't find God. No, he just kept the fucking and the sucking. And they say for the reasons below, the reasons set forth above, they want continued detention. You weren't muted for hurting my feelings. You were muted for being a cocksucker to my guest. I ask you not to shit on the floor in other people's houses. I ask you not to shit on the floor in front of guests, too. Simple. Simple as. Now, Diddy's attorneys, they released their own letter. And they're just like, Judge, look, we need to contest this. We need to fight this. This is wrong. So they move for release. And they say, as these proceedings have demonstrated, and as we told the court from the outset, Mr. Combs came to New York to surrender in order to defend against the charges because he was committed to showing his innocence. Nobody's willing to sit in jail for a year to show their innocence. This is kind of bullshit from them. Since his arrest, Diddy has obeyed the court, respected the proceedings, and demonstrated model behavior at the Metropolitan Detention Center. And today, the jury unambiguously rejected the government's allegations that Diddy ran a years-long criminal enterprise, which was the core of the government's case. Diddy stands convicted of 2 Mann Act violations, and his sentencing exposure is substantially lower than when the government initially sought detention. Now, I point out that, now here we get to the ideas, guys. Notice, there's dueling law, and this is where it gets interesting. They say a defendant who's been found guilty of an offense is entitled to release pending sentencing if the court finds by clear and convincing evidence he's not likely to flee or pose a danger to the safety of a person or the community. They say aside from the burden of proof resting on the defendant, the operative standards are the same as those outlined where the court considered at the outset of the proceedings. And it's whether there's a condition or combination of conditions will assure the appearance of the person as required in the safety of any other person and the community. They say, as for flight risk, it's insufficient to rely on the commission of a serious crime and the fact of a long sentence to support a flight risk. Notice they actually have Second Circuit information here. They say, rather, a court must sensibly consider several factors, including length of prison time, whether familial and community ties make flight unlikely, his actual ability to flee and evade the law, whether he has a passport, familiarity with other countries, or the financial ability to do so. And the incentive to remain provided by the anticipated harm that will befall any sureties. If Diddy takes off, there's a lot on the line. And not only that, his reputation. So he doesn't have a reason to run right now. And they say, moreover, the past history of compliance with the release conditions and court attendance are highly relevant. And they say, regarding the dangerousness prong, there are two components. First question is whether the defendant poses a safety risk to any individuals. And second is the safety of the community. And the question is whether the defendant is likely to recidivate, meaning commit future crimes against the community as a whole. And they talk about, as Judge Chin wrote in U.S. v. Madoff, that's Bernie Madoff, the question appears to be one of propensity to commit further crimes. And they say Diddy presents a flight risk and the release conditions are more than sufficient. When they talk about the no risk of flight. Initially, he faced mandatory prison. The charges are now the opposite. The base offense level for a violation of the Mann Act is 14. And because there are two counts for relating to two separate victims, the counts are grouped separately. And because each group level is 14, an additional two levels are added, resulting in a total offense level of 16. And they say Diddy's still in the criminal history category 1. And this gives him a range of 21 to 27 months. And Diddy's already been incarcerated for 10 months. And his sentencing exposure, which we fully respect and do not seek to minimize, is in fact low, and so is any corresponding risk of flight. So, they say his actions prior to the arrest demonstrate that he is neither a flight risk nor a danger to the community. Diddy knew he was under investigation and, was likely to be charged, but he wasn't arrested until September. In the intervening months, he demonstrated that he is trustworthy and committed and respected the legal process. I mean, I don't know about that. But overall, yes. But I think you run into some issues of the way some of these women had ouchie boo-boos on them. I'm like, I don't know about the full thing there. When it became apparent to counsel that Diddy would be formally charged, Diddy did something extraordinary. He left his home in Miami and traveled to New York, the very location of the prosecutors and the agents investigating him. Through counsel, Diddy promptly told the government he had voluntarily come to New York, offered to tell them specifically where he was, and offered to turn himself in at the appropriate time. The government rejected an offer and elected to arrest him, but Diddy's own conduct was kept in flight. He affirmatively and proactively sought to cooperate with the legal process. I guess, but once again, still voluntarily sitting in jail for 10 months. He's not like, this is great. This is perfect. I like this. I like this here. This is fun. Even before the offer of self-surrender, Diddy demonstrated a pattern of trustworthiness and cooperation. I don't know. I think we're bullshitting a little here, man. Throughout the time his house was being searched, Diddy acted forthrightly and remained committed to the process. Shortly after the searches in April, counsel took possession of Diddy's passport. On the same day, his counsel advised prosecutors that Diddy had surrendered his passport. Defense counsel would not return it to him, and that he would not leave the country. The passport remains in defense counsel's possession. Yeah, it's interesting. They didn't demand it. They didn't demand it be turned over. And they say second, counsel advised the government that if Diddy intended to travel, counsel would inform the AUSAs that he was doing so. Remember, they said every time he's going to travel, we'll tell you. All travel was done with the government's knowledge. And third, Diddy voluntarily relocated to New York. Once Diddy arrived in New York, defense counsel immediately informed the government of Diddy's whereabouts. And they say fourth, he paid off the mortgage at his residence in Miami. This payment of about $18 million was for one reason alone. So that he would have his $48 million residence free and clear of encumbrances to use for bond. And that's true. When you have a house and you want to put a house up for bond, you have to do it in a situation, guys, where it becomes a problem because if you have a mortgage or other things on it, HELOCs, you can't generally put that house up for bond. And they say all this shows he's not a flight risk. Um, they say the only other factors that are occurring, such as familial and continuity ties or community ties, the court only needs to consider his and his family's conduct over the last 10 years. And prior to sure itself, there's simply no risk Diddy will seek to flee or recidivate. They said throughout the proceedings, Diddy's family has been seated by his side, demonstrating the same respect for those proceedings and support for. Um, and it's all support for Diddy, and that they'll pay going forward, and that they were here and there and here to support him. They say he is obviously committed to reuniting with his family to continue to support them. And they say not to flee or put them at risk. It's just a few examples of what he's missed. He missed his twins' high school graduations. They did not have any parent there with them because their mother, Kim Porter, passed away in 2018. He missed their prom. He has minor daughters that are very young that don't have him. I mean, there's a lot of problems here. First there was Sean John, now there's Sean. So, they say at the hearing, the government suggested that Combs could still be a danger in the sense that he had the means and ability to commit prostitution crimes. It's like, well, okay. I mean, technically anybody could commit prostitution crimes, really. But they say it's completely unsupported. The government has had for an extended period of time a pen register on his phone. Diddy never called escorts or prostitutes. But somebody did. I mean, nor did he make any effort to meeting or arrange prostitutes, nor was he with Jane in New York. In any event, reasonable conditions would ensure that Diddy would not have the ability to arrange meetings with hoes. Yes. And they talk about cases. Now, here's the thing where they show cases supporting release. They're citing SDNY. While it's not binding, it's helpful. 2021, a 2021 case out of Brooklyn. The defendant convicted of transportation of a minor permitted to remain on bail. Okay, well, that's even worse. The defendant pled guilty to Travel Act violations on promoting and facilitating prostitution. He remained on bail pending sentencing and was allowed to surrender. Another case out of the SDNY. The guy who ran a prostitution ring was remaining on bail. So I think those are pretty compelling reasons to let him out. And they say, and the case as it stands is not in the same category where the detention was deemed appropriate. If he had connections to a smuggling network, yeah, that would be bad. And they say if the government fails to explain why the release conditions imposed would be insufficient, that's another problem for the government here. Whether it be, prevented from evading surveillance in a manner that would permit him to engage in the kind of non-consensual drug-induced violent sex that forms the base of the allegations against him. So they point out the government, in some of these cases, didn't request pretrial detention. And even though their case was planned to take advantage of the defendant's own pleasure, which included sex without consent, he had substantial wealth. That's not an important one, chat. Sorry, I thought we had here. So they offer proposed release conditions. Now notice they're not doing the $50 million bond anymore. Only $1 million. It's not as serious. Co-signed by Diddy, his mother, his sister, and the mother of his oldest daughter. Diddy's travel was restricted to the Southern District of Florida, the Central District of California, and the Southern District of New York. Meaning Miami, You know, he wants to be able to go to LA. And he wants to go to New York City. The Eastern District in New York or the District of New Jersey, only to the extent that his travel to and from New York involves an airport in those districts. Now, the big thing for Diddy is, and I mean, that's because, you know, JFK and LaGuardia are not there, but also Diddy's going to fly privately. So if he flies like Teterboro, he's going to have to go to New Jersey. They're offering to give his passport to pretrial services to do drug testing and follow all other standards of supervision. And they want to get released. You're like, okay, well, there you go. In the meantime, though, Cassie Ventura wrote a letter today through her attorneys. You know, that says wig door, chat, not wigger. So they say, and it's very simple. They oppose it. They're saying we are very opposed. Diddy's so scary, so scare. Oh no. They want it denied. They believe that Diddy is likely to pose a danger. And to everybody here who testifies, well, it's community, but we don't know what, like, you don't know anything about it. So that's just where we are. That's just where we are. Now, there's another letter too. This one is this is another letter that's come in. And this was a letter sent in by another guy. He says, I am writing, it says, Dear Judge Subramanian, I write to express my grave concern, only the gravest of concern, my grave concern over the prospect of Diddy being released from custody. And he says, while I appreciate the fairness you have shown throughout your trial, I'm compelled to be unequivocal about the danger he poses to the public and to the individuals at risk. Diddy has a long, well-documented history of violent, coercive, and retaliatory behavior. Over the years, he repeatedly escaped meaningful accountability, and each time this has only reinforced his sense of sense of impunity. If he's released now, I have no doubt he will see it as another license to continue intimidating, threatening, and harming people. And they say many of us have firsthand knowledge of the fear he instills in those around him. He says, I can say without hesitation he's a serious and immediate threat to victims, witnesses, and the broader community. His pattern of violence, while engaged in the trafficking of individuals for prostitution, combined with the unchecked drug use, well, he's on drugs right now, makes it clear that he is not ready to re-enter society safely or responsibly. And they say to release Diddy without consequence would undermine the integrity of the process, to set a dangerous message that wealth and influence can shield someone from indefinitely from accountability. That's the case. That's always been the case. That's always been the case. Like you're saying the part like, duh. Rich people get away with whatever they want. Duh. So, it will also endanger those who cooperate with the investigation under subpoena and who are already living in fear under the fear of retaliation. And he says, I urge you in the strongest terms to prioritize the safety of victims and witnesses over leniency. Diddy has countless opportunities to change, and he has chosen instead to establish his harmful conduct. So it says, thank you for your time and your commitment to protecting the public from those who readily demonstrate they are willing to show. Yeah. So, from a guy named Deontay Nash, which you're like, I don't know who the fuck this is. So. Now, what happened from here, chat? Well, there was some further discussion of things. And as of right now, the court has denied Diddy's ability to be released. Pre-trial, he is staying in jail till sentencing. Yes, not sure. You are correct. The diddler is going to stay in jail. That's not that big a surprise because he was already there. So I'm not surprised that happened to him. But for right now, he is stuck. He's stuck in jail. If he gets any sort of time, I mean, will it help him some? Yeah, I mean, because I don't know if he's going to get his boots nuked off, but yeah, this is going to be rough. Um, although at the end of the day, they kind of got the big win. They kind of got the big win here. I know, like I said, I know Diddy might not think that, but it's pretty big. I mean, it's pretty big. So you just have to, like I said, you take the good with the bad. You take the good with the bad and the bad with the good. And where is my where is hold on, chat. I'm looking for something here. Oh, there they are. There they are. Okay. So yes, the diddler is in. Yeah, he's facing the prospect of up to 20 years in prison, but the sentencing guidelines indicate, around probably 4.5 to 5 to 6 years. Probably what he's looking at overall. It really depends. But I will tell you guys, the federal sentencing guidelines, chat, I took a class on that because it's like a white collar crime class on white collar crime. And it very quickly turned into a using the sentencing guidelines. And it's very, and you had to like, he made a argument for a guy and he gave us all the information and we had to make a sentencing recommendation. We didn't have to write it all fancy, but we basically had to take everything together and put it all in such a way that you would be able to say, like, look, okay, based on this, this, and this, okay, yeah, he's level 1, or we might make an argument he's level 2. Like that was actually, I think in the case, it was like a level 2 or 3. You can make arguments for either or. And that's what like a law, question is like, you can kind of, when you get to the higher level classes, you're making arguments. And then you're just like, where do we start? Did we start like here? Did we start here? Did we start here? Because notice, like these two change a lot. Like you get a very wide sentencing disparity. And then do we get to upward departure or do we downward departure? Are there things that change our base level? Like there's all kinds of arguments you can make to change stuff around. So it's entirely a very unique way of handling stuff at the federal guidelines. So it's very good there. Jefferson Post says, will this affect overbroad use of trafficking? It's gonna sting for the feds. I mean, they lost. They lost pretty fucking resoundingly. They lost to RICO. That's always embarrassing. Because they usually got it in the bag. They got it in the bag usually, so they usually have it in the bag. And then Chris Kelly for £2 sterling. The King Sterling. All I say is N, mate. James Olds says, don't have long distance relationships. Yeah. To be fair, says, did the jurors think mens rea mattered for the RICO conviction? The act is the act. The res ipsa loquitur. Yeah, but if they couldn't find the predicates, that's a problem. That's a problem. If they couldn't find the predicates, that's the issue there. It's tough if you don't like it. It depends. We'll find out sooner or later. We'll find out sooner or later. We just don't know right now. And then here, guys, if you want to see his, this is Diddy's verdict sheet. Notice this one is actually professionally done, so it's not like Bev Canoni where it's all ham-fisted. And Bev, I know you're watching, girlfriend, but like, look, verdict sheet. Count 1, not guilty, guilty, racketeering. And then it talks about the acts involving kidnapping. Not proven, proven. Arson, not proven, proven. Notice there's no questions. The jury didn't go, well, we don't understand this. But it sounds like they failed on all these counts. Okay. Oh, sorry, chat there. So this is what a verdict sheet looks like. It says not guilty, guilty, proven, not proven. And it looks like they didn't prove any of it. They say, if and only if you find the defendant of guilty count one, did this affect Cassie Ventura? So they didn't even bother with this piece. They didn't bother with that piece. Count two, the sex trafficking of Cassie Ventura, not guilty. No, the transportation, guilty. Sex trafficking Jane, not guilty. Cause you a hoe! You know, the transportation though, guilty. You a hoe, you got transported around being a hoe. So, oh. Yes, this is a non-retarded verdict sheet. This is what Bev should have done. And Jay says, I want to know how much money was in the bags left at the jurors' doorsteps. I mean, honestly, just the government could have presented a shitty case. I know you guys, like, maybe the government sucked. Once again, don't get mad at the jurors. Get mad at the quarterback for getting sacked. Get mad at the lineman for not protecting him. Don't get mad at the linebacker for, making the sack. Unlike Boston says, it can't be that hard. Generally, it's not hard. Oh, you're talking about the thing. Yeah, well, there are stuff she can use. She has her little thing here. She can warn me, like a little warning light. Although it blinds me. Praying that Kodak Black transporting. Yeah. Yes, Maureen Comey, Jim Comey's daughter, was the lead prosecutor on this. And Joe said the case was solid. A lot of people did. But at the end, the government's like, we might want to dismiss shit. And, oh, man. Yeah. Yeah, it was not a good look. It was not a good look there. Now, Natasha says, why is it that the face serial numbers and drugs upon his arrest were not charged? Was it jurisdictional or laziness? They decided not to charge it for some reason. I mean, they had it. They roped it all together. But they could have charged him with having defaced serial numbers. Maybe these weren't really defaced. Maybe they were, fucking homemade guns, 3D printed guns. Who knows really what happened? Did he do it? How do we know? Like, did we know? Does he know those were defaced? I don't know. But yeah, it's a good point. And notice, those are all things that can escalate offenses. And if you go to the guidelines, there's all kinds of, and guys, here, when we go to this, for the guidelines, there are, like, we're just going to zoom in on this real quick. There's all kinds of crap. Involving drugs and narco-terrorism, criminal enterprises and racketeering, commercial sex acts, offenses involving individual rights, offenses involving public safety, firearms. So, like, here, we'll go to 256. Did you use a semi-automatic firearm that's capable of accepting a large capacity magazine? Or is it a firearm that's an automatic weapon? There's all kinds of things you can do here. You can talk about the base levels. They talk about if you use a semi-automatic firearm that's accepting a large magazine and you committed the incident offense to sustaining a felony conviction, or a controlled substance abuse offense. You talk about, did it work this way? Did it involve a semi-automatic firearm? Or is it anything under the National Firearms Act? Were you a prohibited person at the time? Were you convicted under any parts of the 18 U.S.C. 922 D? Did you do it with an NFA item? Period. There's all kinds of stuff here. How many guns did you have? There's an entire setup for this. Was it a destructive device, a portable rocket, a missile? You increase by 15 levels. If it was just a regular destructive device, you increase by 2. If the firearm was stolen, increase by 2 levels. If the firearm had a serial number that was modified, such that the original information is rendered ineligible and unrecognizable to the unaided eye. So yeah, that could have happened here. And I'm going to assume they're going to increase it by 4 levels. Notice, like, you are correct. There are parts to this. I wasn't joking, guys. Think about all those different ways. They talk about different types of guns, ways you could use guns. Did you have body armor? That's an enhanceable. That's a level enhancement. So, the large capacity magazines bullshit. I know, but it's been that way forever. So that's why, guys, that's this whole thing here, and I hope you guys can read this. There's all kinds of stuff here. Were you convicted under other parts of 18 USC 921 onwards, including 933? Were you transporting, selling, or otherwise disposing of firearms or ammunition? Like, what did you do here? There's all kinds of stuff. So it's really a big deal here. All the stuff you can do. So, and they go through here, like, and it's interesting because, like, with the guidelines, they have commentary for you to, this is the sentencing guidelines. The Supreme Court is in charge of this commission. The federal court system is in charge of this. The federal court system at the district court, circuit court, and Supreme Court level all sit down and work on this. They bring in magistrates, they bring in U.S. attorneys, they bring in defense attorneys, like they bring in legal scholars. This is all done. It's a group, and they create these. And they define as much shit as they can. They define, like, everything. I mean, think about this. We have multiple pages of definitions. And this is just, when you talk about with guns, it's 2K 2.1. And there's so many ways you can increase things for him. Dagamore says, I've seen people try to upgrade sentencing because Russ obscured the serial number. Yeah, that can, but that's where you have a good attorney fighting for you. But it happens. It happens. Matt Kors is a Greg. I don't get it, but okay. Sean initially spread misinformation about Nick and his case against both Steve Quest and the state of Minnesota. What did I say wrong about Monty? Nick's doubled down and kind of fucked himself. He has since been quiet because Nick's can sue. The fucking daisy if he does, let me tell you. The Pie Baker for $10 says, let's take a moment to celebrate that uncivil Kurt. That's right, guys. Kurt at Uncivil Law, friend of the channel, friend of the show, is successful enough to have his own ADA compliance officer. And let's hope he treats his ADA retard, also known as Nicholas Ricada, better than the previous recognized law tuber. Yes. That's kind of funny. Nick says he had Monty as his retard, yet Nick became somebody else's retard. It's like, the hunter became the hunted. It's the definition of ironic, don't you think? Funky Monkey for $2 says, why was there no pimping and pandering? That's not really engaging in prostitution is what pimping and pandering is. Well, like I said, guys, the feds do it differently. Like the rules are different. Like it's not the same. It's not the same. And the feds kind of like have bigger, like broad categories of a law. So, but that's the whole prostitution thing there. But thank you for the super chat. Mr. Squiggles has been a member for 33 months. It's a long time, chat. Almost 3 years. All you can say is Clyde. That's right, chat. Just Clyde. Just Clyde. He's such a good boy. Such a good boy. I mean, look at this Clyde. That really does look like Clyde, doesn't it, guys? That is such Clyde. That's so Clyde. And he's taking the Clyde coin all the way to the moon. He's such a good boy. Natasha says, is the gun or the lack of getting in charge pisses me off. If it's any one of us, they couldn't prove the gun of ours. If it's not our evidence, they would fuck us dry and bite the pillow. Yeah. Yeah, but remember, they weren't worried about the gun stuff because they had really meaty stuff to get him on. I'm sure they thought they were going to bury him with the, the RICO stuff. And like, who cares about gun stuff later? They can tack it on as a sentencing edition. But yes, if they come to your house and that's all they find, yeah, they'll hem you up on it. And it's very true, though. Very true. Very true. So, do I have a personal internet retard yet? No, just when I look in the mirror every day, they give me one. Looks a lot like me. He's like my doppelganger. So, 33 months is almost as long as Diddy will spend in prison. Yeah. Can they still charge him with the gun stuff? I mean, I don't think so, especially if it's brought up in this trial, and I think it was. I think double jeopardy attaches because they tried to rope that into the RICO stuff. I would argue they can't. So, I don't think they can. So, and Funky Monkey's right. Yes, it doesn't matter if you own the gun, only if you have access to it. And that's correct. Owning it is important, but yes, it's do you have access to it? Because I can have access to things I don't own, and I can still be in trouble for it. So, well, guys, so we're going to move on now to the bigger thing out there. The big thing. Bryan Kohberger pled out today. And yeah, this was interesting how this all came about. But Bryan Kohberger pled out today. He pled out. Oh, real quick, we have one more thing here. Diddy's family, as they're walking out of the courthouse today, earlier today before the bail hearing. Here they are. And there's Diddy's older son who does have charges against him. He's got to have his own pile of trouble. So anyways, they were happy as they came out. So, but anyways, guys, we are going to start with the, we got it all piped in and ready to go. We are going to start the Bryan Kohberger sentencing. And we have closed captioning and everything ready to go, guys. Here we go. Well, I can reload it here, but we are going to do this. Here we go. And now we're on to Bryan Kohberger sentencing. Oh, nope. Can I go over here? Yep, there we go. I'll stay out of the corner. Actually, can I go over here? Yeah, I'd like to. I'll make myself a little smaller, chat. I'm just gonna scooch on in like this right here. Just gonna scooch on in. I don't know. Hold on here. Let me see if I can move myself. Changes. Yep, there we go. There we go. Is he wearing a bulletproof vest? I don't think so. I don't think Bryan Kohberger is wearing a bulletproof vest. Normally they make you wear those outside, but he could. So, but it's a very good question. So here we go, Bryan Kohberger. And we're going to bring this here. We're going to bring this up here. So here we go. This is Bryan Kohberger's plea hearing. All right, guys, here we go. Here's the judge. Let's let him do his thing. Now, remember, they moved courthouses because they're in a different county now. They got to change a venue. So it's a different place. In a normal file, there's a lot of paperwork, but this is a massive death penalty case. This judge has a stack of shit he's got to wade through that's been provided to him. And it's stuff he's had to organize and set up. So it's going to be a lot.
All right, this is CR 0124316665. Defendant is present in custody with counsel, Ms. Thompson, Ms. Jennings, and Ms. Taylor, Ms. Massoff, and Ms. Barlow. The state's present with Mr. Thompson, Mr. Horowitz, Ms. Jennings, and Mr. Nye is here as well. Am I
Bill
missing
Nye,
anybody?
Guy?
I'm sorry.
Ms. Allen is here as well.
Ms. Allen is here as well. Very well, thank you. All right, we are here today to entertain a change of plea. Before I start, I want to address some issues of concern and otherwise. First, I appreciate everybody in attendance today being on their best behavior. Please, no outbursts or demonstrations. Any such conduct will result in immediate removal and may result in an inability to attend further court proceedings in this case. I want to point out that there have been calls by some for the public to contact me and my office in an attempt to influence my decision-making in this case. This has been extraordinarily disruptive for court staff and the ability for them to get work done, not only in this case, but in other cases where defendants are entitled to have their cases processed, and frankly, as important, if not more so, for victims to have their cases processed in those cases. It's also highly inappropriate. A court is not supposed to, and this court will never, take into account public sentiment in making an opinion regarding its judicial decisions in cases. Courts should, and I always will make decisions.
And remember, if any of these wine moms got uppity, that could be considered, intimidation of court officials. So wine moms, be careful, man. This is the court's way of telling all these people to go fuck themselves. I'm not you guys could fuck yourselves on this. And it's interesting, these idiots, basically these guys did gay ops. They gummed up the court works by fucking around. And he's explaining how not only are you screwing it up for me and my staff, but any other person who's got a case. All the other people, criminal cases, civil cases, everybody has to deal with your bullshit, all you wine moms out there. So leave it alone. Let it go.
Decisions based on where the facts and the law lead me. Period. I have not read any of the numerous messages, nor listened to any of the numerous voicemails that have been sent to me and my staff. Those have all been forwarded to security and, where appropriate, to law enforcement.
So it sounds like some people are going to get fucked. Good job.
I ask that you not continue to mount such campaigns or to send me information like this, because again, it is not appropriate and frankly not something I would take into account when deciding a matter in a case like this. I also want people to understand some very basic concepts about the ideas of separation of powers, and what the court's duties are, and what the duties and the rights of the executive, or in this case, the prosecuting attorney, is. The executive, the elected prosecutor, is the sole authority in deciding what charges to pursue, including whether, as well as what penalties to ask for, and what penalties to pursue, including the death penalty. This court cannot require the prosecutor to seek the death penalty, nor would it be appropriate for this court to attempt to do that. This court, in considering a plea agreement, if it were to reject this plea agreement, cannot force the state to seek the death penalty.
This is him explaining, listen, all you morons. He's having to have the listen, you mongoloids out there. Listen, wine moms. This is how it works. And I have to explain it to you. This is so fucking sad. A judge has to do this. This is so sad a judge had to do this. Like, listen, tardos.
My role and power in considering a plea agreement is extremely limited. My role is to ensure that the defendant's plea is given freely, voluntarily, and intelligently. If those things are met, I can only reject a plea, such as the one in this case, where I'm not being asked to agree to the sentence in advance. If I can only reject it, for example, if the defendant does not meet or admit to all of the elements of the crime. That is, I can ensure what is called a factual basis to the plea. Finally, I want to offer my apologies to all the families, including the victims' families, the families of the defendant, for the short notice for today's hearing, and I'm sure what must have been the hurried efforts to get here. I, like most everyone else, learned of this plea agreement Monday afternoon and had no inkling of it beforehand. Prior to that time, I was under the belief that this case was proceeding to trial, as had been indicated, and my staff and I were busy continuing to work on preparations to have potentially 10,000 citizens of Ada County come to jury duty starting in mid-July, with the questionnaire process in mid-July. It was, once I learned of the defendant's decision to change his plea in this case, it was important that I take the plea as soon as possible because of the extraordinary administrative efforts that were otherwise attendant to the process of this, getting this trial potentially underway on time, and including the significant process of bringing, again, potentially up to 10,000 jurors to come in and fill out juror questionnaires prior to the beginning of the voir dire process. And so it was important that we, if we're going to go down this road, do so expeditiously so that we can avoid those costs and expenses associated with that. Otherwise, if it was not going to result in a plea, or for some reason the plea were to fall through today, that we could continue diligently towards trial at the time specified. And so that obviously required that we act quickly. And so some folks may have not had the amount of time that we would otherwise allow for them to travel here. And so again, I apologize for that. I want to make people aware that during the hearing, if you are to leave the courtroom for any reason, you will not be readmitted during the hearing. Also, when we finish the hearing this morning, I ask that the public and media wait in their seats until the victims' families and the defendants' families and others are escorted out of the courtroom before you start to leave. Finally, I want to acknowledge the trial court administrator and her staff, the Ada County Sheriff, and the Ada County 4th District Marshal Service for the huge lift that they've accomplished in preparing for and orchestrating this hearing today, as well as to all the security attendant today that you see, and some of whom you, many of whom you don't see, with less than 48 hours notice. And so I appreciate the hard work that they've been doing. Frankly, some of them while they were on some vacation prior to the trial starting and had to call that short. And so I appreciate very much their professionalism and dedication. All right. That said, let's move to the business of.
I mean, he literally just gave us a 5-minute lecture on how court works, and he basically had to tell everybody to fluff up new tampons. He had to tell the wine moms, go get new tampons. This is how it works. And they're probably still not going to understand it. They're probably still not going to understand it. But that was a listen here, honey moment. That was a nice way of him saying, go back to getting people fucking cups of coffee. So they did this because of laziness. I don't know about that. So Jay says, I don't even think it's a dick move not to even consult with the family, though. Well, who says they haven't? number one, like, they probably have been talked about this. I mean, the idea they haven't consulted, period. I mean, says who? You know, victims lie all the fucking time when things don't go the way they want. I mean, like, it's not the first time I've ever heard of that. I've been in a courtroom before. I've been a prosecutor before. Victims like, we never agreed to this. Wow. I'm like, Your Honor, we have emails. We have a letter we sent out, certified mail. And we even recorded the fucking phone call talking to them about it because we knew they were going to fucking do that. You know, like, just like we just acknowledge that, like, hey, you know, it's today, it's Friday. We're talking about, you know, we're setting, like, we didn't record the whole thing, but it's like, hey, we actually started talking to them about it. So now they can't say it didn't happen. And we had the phone logs. I mean, the first 30 seconds of a phone call to say, look, we actually did it. Because notice what they're going to say now. Oh, well, we never did it. Why? It's like, well, no, we did. And now they can say, well, that's something we talked about. But first you said we didn't talk about it. First you said we didn't talk at all. So which one is it? And this is the problem. I will tell you, victims get, like, I get it, they're victims. But just because you're a victim does not make you right. Just because you're a victim does not mean you're the only one that matters. And to be fair, victims have a like main character complex attached to them. Like, no, there's an entire the rest of the world is just as important, and we have to worry about the rest of the world. So, like I said, victims matter, but it's not the end all be all. And I'm just saying, I think they could claim that happens, but yeah. So, yeah. People are putting oh, hi, Sleuthy Goosey. How are you doing? People are putting 1-star reviews in the prosecutor's office in Google. Like, these people have a fucking boner to fucking see him get shot. He's going away all day, and he's doing all day and all night out back. He's going to live in the fucking shoe. You think, like, he's going to have a decent life? No, it's going to fucking suck. I don't know what, like, these people want. Like, do they want to watch him get raped to death in a shower? Will that satisfy their lust? I don't know. He called for the people to call the judge on TV. Well, he's a fucking asshole. Or Gonzalez, or whatever the fuck his name is. Goncalves or Gonclaves. Fucking bitch. Once again, because he's a victim, he feels his tampon, he could swing it around, and if he hits you with it, it's your fault for not saying thank you. That's the problem with victims. That's one of the things I detest about victims. You know, somebody steals your car, you're like, I want him to get 20 years. I'm like, they're going to get probation. And they fucking cry and shit their pants over that. It's like, I don't know what you want me to do, man. Funky Monkey says a judge has a veto power over a deal with the defense. He can. But in this situation, it would be very much an abuse of discretion. He's basically pleading guilty to the indictment without the death spec attached. But yes, I've had judges refuse plea deals. Now, normally they tell you in advance they're not going to accept that plea deal because normally you have to provide the plea paperwork ahead of time so they can review it, make sure it's good to go. But you don't normally get told, like, at the hearing unless your client fucks it up. The judge will generally, by that point, have accepted the plea deal. And I'm sorry, chat, for whining about victims there, but that's just something I had to get off my chest. Just saying. Isn't it Coberger's right to have a trial and only his right? Yeah, Sleuthy, 100% correct. Just like Nicholas Cruz. Nicholas Cruz pled out and just went to the death penalty sentencing. The only person entitled to a trial is Bryan Kohberger. And yeah, it sounds like they're crying because it all didn't come out. So they're raising hell because nobody consulted with them. Well, what did they want? Are you sure that they didn't get consulted with? I mean, if they didn't, I guess, is there a Marcy's Law in Idaho? Like, if they really didn't get consulted with, oh, well, I'm sorry that happened, but it doesn't sound like they would have been happy anyways. Because now they're screaming and crying to go talk to the judge. Well, like, what? Do they want to be the hubris and the self-interest of saying, I want to be able to give it a stamp of approval. It's like, that's a bit much, I think. That's a bit conceited, in my opinion. So who knows? Who knows? So they did consult with them. Well, I mean, that's the thing. Did they get consulted? We don't know. And I can't trust these people. I don't trust the victims right now because they're screaming and acting like loons. Maybe they did. Maybe they didn't. Who knows? It's the biggest cost-saving move in the history of the court. Well, that too. Awaking Ye says, would a judge turn this down? Some judges might. Some judges might. So, there's no Marcy's Law in Idaho. Okay. They got consulted on Zoom over Friday and emailed on Sunday. Well, there you go. You know, sour grapes, or just the bigger point of, we're telling you, you don't get to approve it. Yeah. Yeah. So it sounds like they just don't like the outcome, which suffer. Sadly. Conclave said they did. Well, then there you go. If they got it, why are they crying? Mitch says, oh, this creator is a wacko. I don't think I'm a wacko. Victims don't have the ultimate rights. Bryan Kohberger, this is the only guy, this is the guy whose rights are more important than anyone else's in that room. Bryan Kohberger's rights are the ultimate consideration at the top of that pyramid of anyone else in that room. Bryan Kohberger is right here at the top. The victims might be somewhere. Maybe they're here. Maybe they're here. Maybe they're here. But even if they're right there, they're still never more important than Bryan. So, yeah, they have the right to be upset, but that's just what it is. Yeah, I mean, that's what it sounds like. They were told what was going to happen. And they don't like it, which, oh, well. You got to, sucks to suck. So here we go.
Today, I understand the state and the defense have reached a plea agreement in this case. For the record, I have a written plea agreement which indicates in sum, the defendant will plead guilty to all 5 counts in the indictment, burglary, felony, and first-degree murder, 4 counts. The state and the defendant stipulate, that is, that the defense is not free to argue for a lesser sentence at sentencing to the following. The defendant on the burglary charge will be sentenced to 10 years fixed, and that the defendant on counts 2 through 5, the 4 counts of first-degree homicide, on each count would receive a fixed life sentence, all 5 of those counts to run consecutive to one another. Defendant, as part of the plea agreement, waives his right to appeal, as well as his right to appeal the sentence and his right to seek leniency or reconsideration of the sentence under Idaho Criminal Rule 35. This is not a Rule 11 agreement, meaning the court is not bound by the plea agreement and could impose a different lawful sentence at sentencing. The stipulated agreement between the parties is the maximum on each count. So theoretically, the only thing the court could do would be a lesser sentence at sentencing. But the defendant is not free to ask the court to do so under the plea agreement. Are there any other material terms of the plea agreement that the parties would like to make? Obviously, the plea agreement, the written plea agreement will speak for itself and be part of the court record.
Not from the state, Your Honor. Thank you.
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, very well. All right. Ms. Taylor, have you had sufficient time to discuss this case and all of its ramifications with your client?
I have, Your Honor.
Have you discussed fully with him his rights, defenses, and possible consequences to him of the guilty plea?
Yes, Your Honor.
Have you been able to do all the discovery you feel necessary?
Yes, Your Honor.
And have you informed your client of the importance of providing the court truthful and accurate answers in taking this plea today?
I have.
Have you apprised your client of any and all offers and counter offers and answered his questions about those?
Yes,
Do you consent to the entry of the plea today?
I do.
All right, Mr. Coberger, I need to ask you some questions this afternoon, or I guess it's this morning still. I do this to ensure that so that I am assured that you understand the nature of the charges to which I understand you're going to plead guilty, as well as the possible consequences to you of your guilty pleas. I want to make sure your plea is given voluntarily, and I want to make sure that you actually committed the crimes to which you're pleading guilty, because I don't want you to plead guilty to a crime you didn't commit. If you attempt to plead guilty today, but for some reason I don't accept your plea, then it is possible that your statements today could be used against you later at trial. Do you understand that?
Yes.
All right, thank you. And now, while you're standing, actually, why don't you take the oath from the clerk?
Please raise your hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give in the matter not being before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, and Mr. Coberger, just to make it easier, you don't need to stand when
And we do get to hear him speak, so this is interesting. Yeah, well, we'll get to all this stuff, guys. Apparently, 2.0 told me this gets like super in depth here as we get going. So, guys, this part's a very basic plea hearing. Have these a million times. This is very, very yeah. So, anyways, here we go.
you speak to me. I appreciate the sign of respect, but for convenience, you can remain seated, all right?
It's probably also like the court deputies are shitting their pants every time you stand up. So, like, they're thinking, are they going to have to fucking jump on you? So they're like, just stay seated.
Before I start asking you questions today, have you consumed substantive questions? Let me ask you, have you consumed any alcohol, drug, or other intoxicating substance that would impair your ability to understand or exercise reasonable judgment?
No.
You feel like you are thinking clearly today?
Yes.
All right, I want you to understand what the possible penalties are for each of the crimes to which I understand you're going to offer a guilty plea today. They include, on count one, the burglary, a fine of up to $50,000 and a period of incarceration of up to 10 years in the state penitentiary. You may be required to pay restitution to any victims of the crime. Count 2, 3, 4, and 5 for first-degree murder. The consequences include a fine of up to $50,000, a period of incarceration of life imprisonment, which is a requirement of a sentence, that it be a life sentence with a mandatory minimum sentence of at least 10 years on each of those counts. In addition, you would be potentially responsible for a fine of up to $5,000 to each of the victims of your crime to be enforced in the form of a civil judgment to operate as additional punishment. This is in excess of any restitution or fines that the court could order. And again, you may be required to pay restitution to the victims of the crime. You would be required to provide, as to counts 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, a DNA sample and a right thumbprint impression, and potentially pay for analysis of those samples. You would lose any right to possess, purchase, or carry a firearm, the right to serve on jury duty, the right to hold public office, and the right to vote. Do you understand the charges and all those possible consequences?
Yes.
You've heard the plea agreement that I talked about today. Do you agree with that plea agreement?
Yes.
And do you understand the nature of the charges that you've been charged with that I understand you're going to plead guilty today to?
Yes.
As I indicated, I'm not bound by the plea agreement, but the plea agreement is for the maximum on each count. Do you understand that I'm not bound by the plea agreement?
Yes.
Has anyone promised you that I would be lenient or easy on you if you pled guilty?
No.
Has anyone threatened you or anyone close to you to get you to plead guilty?
No.
Has anyone other than the state's agreements with respect to the plea agreement, has anyone promised you anything in exchange for your plea agreement?
No.
Has anyone told you to be untruthful in answering my questions today?
No.
Has anyone offered you a reward of any kind other than the plea agreement in order to get you to plead guilty today?
No.
Are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?
Yes.
And counsel, obviously there have been a number of motions filed to suppress evidence in this case. Other than those filed, are there any other motions that you felt were available with respect to Rule 12?
No, Your Honor.
So they're just asking, were there any other motions or things you think should have been filed or could have been filed that would have helped him in his defense?
And Mr. Coberger, you understand that by entering the guilty plea in this case, you would be giving up your right to appeal any decision this court made, as well as your sentence.
Yes.
Maybe
Have you had enough time to decide whether or not to plead guilty?
Yes.
it's his summer coat. They fell off because it's summertime, so it's too hot, and they shed.
Pleading guilty freely and voluntarily.
Yes.
Given your choices, do you believe it's in your best interest to plead guilty?
Yes.
Have you discussed fully the matter of pleading guilty with your attorney, and are you satisfied with the advice you've received?
Yes.
Has your attorney advised you to your satisfaction about what your rights are, what your defenses may be, and what the possible consequences to you of your guilty plea are?
Yes.
Has your attorney done everything you've asked them to do?
Yes.
Are you satisfied with their representation of you?
Yes.
I have received a written guilty plea advisory questionnaire that is purported to be filled out by you. Did you fill that document out?
Yes.
Did you understand the questions that you answered in this document?
Yes.
And are the answers that are outlined in this document your answers?
Yes.
Are those answers truthful?
Yes.
Now they're going just through the plea documents. Did you sign this? Is everything in here correct that you wrote? Yes.
Did you sign the document?
Yes.
Pretty standard
And
stuff.
this
here.
document outlines many of the rights that you have in this case. Should you not plead guilty, did you understand those rights?
Yes.
They include a right to a jury trial. Do you understand that?
Yes.
They include a right to the presumption of innocence. Do you understand that?
Yes.
They have the
Why was he upset today? I mean, like about the beginning stuff or this stuff right now? This is pretty normal. This is a standard plea. This judge will take a plea next week for a guy possessing meth. It'll be very similar.
right to require the state to prove your guilt as to each element beyond a reasonable doubt. Do you understand that?
Yes.
They include a right to confront your accusers and cross-examine witnesses presented by the state, including by utilizing the subpoena power of the court to accomplish that. Do you understand that?
Yes.
You understand you would have a privilege against self-incrimination and a right to remain silent, meaning you would not be compelled to testify if you did not wish to, had you not pled guilty.
Yes.
You understand you're giving up that privilege and those rights that I've just outlined by pleading guilty.
Yes.
All right, I want you to understand what the state would have had to have proven at trial had you, to the crimes that you're pleading guilty to, had you, if you didn't plead guilty. Let me find the document. Hang on a second here. All right. So as to count one burglary, the state would have to have proven that on or about November 13, 2022 in Latah County, Idaho, you unlawfully entered a residence located at 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho, with the intent to commit the felony crime of murder. As to count two, the state would have had to have proven that on or about that same date in Latah County, Idaho, you did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought, kill and murder Madison Mogan, a human being, by stabbing Madison Mogan, from which she died. As to count three, the state would have had to have proven that on that same date in Latah County, at that same address, you did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought, kill and murder Kaylee Gonzalez, a human being, by stabbing her, from which she died. As to count four, the state would have had to have proven that on or about that same date in Latah County, Idaho, you did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought, kill and murder Xana Kernodle, a human being, by stabbing her, from which she died. And then as to count five, also murder in the first degree, that on or about November 13th, 2022, in Latah County, Idaho, you did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought, kill and murder Ethan Chapin, a human being, by stabbing him, from which he died. Do you understand those things the state would have had to have proven?
Yes.
And do you understand that by pleading guilty, the state no longer has to prove those things because you're admitting those things are true?
Yes.
I want to also make,
No,
for the
no vote has
record,
been given, I don't think.
the defendant has provided with the guilty plea advisory form a document entitled Written Factual Basis that purports to have the defendant's signature dated 1 July 2025. Did you sign that document?
Yes.
And did you agree with the written factual basis that is included there?
Yes.
And then let me ask you, did you, on November 13th, 2022, enter the residence at 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho, with the intent to commit the felony crime of murder?
Yes.
Did you, on November 13th, 2022, in Latah County, state of Idaho, kill and murder Madison Mogan, a human being?
Yes.
And did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, and with premeditation and malice aforethought?
Yes.
Did you, on or about that same date in Moscow, Idaho, kill and murder Kaylee Gonzalez, a human being?
Yes.
And did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, and with premeditation and malice aforethought?
Yes.
And did you, on that same date in Moscow, Idaho, kill and murder Xana Kernodle, a human being?
Yes.
And did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought?
Yes.
And then on or about November 13th, 2022, again in Latah County, Idaho, did you kill and murder Ethan Chapin, a human being?
Yes.
Did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought?
Yes.
I would ask the state at this time to provide its
Okay.
recitation of its factual basis had this case gone to.
Now, here we go, chat. This is the actual part that's going to matter here because notice we've got like 20 minutes left. The factual basis is after you've pled guilty to basic facts. And that's all Bryan Kohberger has to admit to. That's his allocution right there, normally. Oh, hold on one second. Yeah, apparently my audio is getting weird when I come back in. I don't know what's going on. He admitted to it. He said, I did it. That's the allocution. Oh, will be weird. Okay, well, I don't know what to do, chats. So the allocutions happen. Now, the state can introduce the factual basis upon which they can sustain the conviction and say, had this matter gone to trial, the state of Idaho would have been able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that on or about such date in 2022, Bryan Kohberger did willfully blah, 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 blah. Remember, he only has to admit to the basic facts in the indictment. He doesn't have to sit there and tell you a whole motive and things like that. That's improper. He only has to say the basics. It's on them to introduce what happened, and I'm curious to see what happens. So I know you guys mentioned here Andrea Burkhart. Yeah. Well, Andrea Burkhart says we don't know what the evidence is. And I agree, we don't know. And I agree, some of it sounded weak, but apparently it was enough. And I think here we're going to find out some information. We have 20 minutes worth of talking. So let's see what they introduce. Let's see here. Let's see.
Trial.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, the organization of the recitation is different than what I think the court and the public may be familiar with from the probable cause affidavit and other documents. The state's evidence, as an overview, would show that back in March of 2022, when the defendant was residing in his parents' residence or was residing back in Pennsylvania, his home state, he purchased online a K-bar knife and sheath with an Amazon gift card that he had purchased shortly prior to the purchase of the knife, sheath, and sharpener. Jumping ahead, the end of June of that year, the defendant, Mr. Coberger, moved from Pennsylvania to Pullman, Washington, which is right across the state line from Moscow, Idaho, for the purpose of pursuing a PhD in criminal justice at Washington State University. The state's evidence would indicate that beginning July 9th of 2022, Mr. Coberger's phone began connecting to a cell tower that serves the area of the 1122 King Road residence in Moscow, Idaho. Now, I will acknowledge for the court and all present that there are many residences in that area. It's a dense population of mostly college-related occupants. Between July 9th of 2022 and November 7th, the defendant's phone connected to that particular tower during late night, early morning hours, 10 p.m. to 4 a.m., on approximately 23 times. Now, I will acknowledge also, we do not have evidence that the defendant had direct contact with 1122 or with residents of 1122, but we can put his phone in that area on those times. In the interim, on August 22nd of 2022, Lake Tahoe County Sheriff's Deputy Darren Duke conducted a traffic stop in the early morning hour or late evening hours, about 11 p.m. On the west side of Moscow, on the Moscow-Pullman Road. This was a traffic stop of Mr. Coberger's car, which turned out to be a 2015 white Hyundai Elantra with Pennsylvania plates. During the course of the traffic stop, Deputy Duke was able to obtain Mr. Coberger's name, Bryan Kohberger, his phone number, and his address, which at that point was an apartment address in Pullman. We then move to the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022. The state's evidence would show that early morning hours on that day, Mr. Coberger's phone left his Pullman residence, which is an apartment in kind of the central northwest part of Pullman. That phone was then subsequently turned off at approximately 2:54 a.m. and remained off until approximately 4:48 a.m. on Sunday, the 13th of November. The state's
I'm hearing echo. Are you guys too? I keep on hearing echo here. No, I forget. Oh, I forgot. I didn't hear you say the echo part. I'm sorry. I didn't hear you say that. My bad. And then hold on. Hold on, chat. The hell am I looking? Sorry, chat. Fuck, why is it not working?
Evidence would include a trial, video surveillance of a business on the Moscow-Pullman Highway, just across the state line from Moscow. It would show a vehicle matching the description of the defendant's Hyundai Elantra entering Moscow at approximately 3:02 a.m. Compiled surveillance that the investigators put together from businesses and residents then show the defendant's car, the white Elantra, as I've described, circling the 1122 King Road area, that neighborhood, starting around 3:30 or so in the morning. Comes into the immediate area of 1122 King Road, which is actually on a dead end, and then leaves several times. And approximately 4:05 that morning, the defense car had entered that area, was leaving, stopped at the intersection of King and Queen Road, did a U-turn, and the state's evidence would show that the defendant's car came back and parked behind and above the 1122 King Road residence. The state believes that its evidence would then show that the defendant entered the residence of 1122 through the kitchen sliding door on the back side of the residence, which is the side of the residence that would face the area above where the defendant's car was parked. Defendant entered the residence, went to the third floor, and with a knife, killed Madison Mogan and Kaylee Gonzalez. The defendant, as he left that room, for whatever reason, ended up leaving, or the sheath for a K-bar knife was left on the bed next to Madison Mogan's body. And I can jump ahead. That sheath was tested by the Idaho State Police Forensic Lab, and single source male DNA was found on the snap of that sheath, as well as blood from both Kaylee and Madison and other trace evidence. But it's important to note single source male DNA was on the snap of that sheath. The state's evidence would show that Xana Knodel was still awake at this time. In fact, had taken a DoorDash order not long before this started. Her room was not on the third floor. It was on the second floor on the west side. As the defendant was either coming down the stairs or leaving, he encountered Xana, and he ended up killing her also with a large knife. Ethan Chapin, Xana's boyfriend, was asleep in their bedroom, in her bedroom, and the defendant killed him as well with a large fixed blade knife. Each victim suffered multiple wounds. I will state for the record that there is no evidence there was any sexual component or sexual assault on any of the victims. I want to make that clear so there's no speculation. There were two other roommates in the house, and they were already asleep. During the course of this, one of those roommates awoke, looked out her door not knowing what was going on, and saw the defendant, who was dressed in black with a black balaclava on, holding some sort of container in his hand. And she saw him leave the house through the direction of the kitchen where that sliding door is that I mentioned before. At approximately 4:20 that morning, so this would have been 15 minutes or so later, the defendant's car is seen on a surveillance camera for 1112 King Road, which is immediately next door to the west of 1122, leaving the area at a high rate of speed. And if the court were to see that, or anybody in this courtroom would see that, you can see the car almost loses control as it makes the corner, heads north, and then turns to go south on Walinta, which is one of the only ways to get out of that part of town. The evidence would show that following that, the defendant in his Elantra drove south of Moscow. We know that he drove on the back roads because there are surveillance cameras on the main highways, Highway 95, that would have picked up the defendant's car if he'd gone that route. And they did not show the defendant's car on that route during the time. So we know that he went through a variety of back roads in very rural, isolated part of Latah County. About 4:48 that morning, the defendant's phone comes back on. And The evidence will show that that phone was located south of Moscow, likely at a side road intersection with Highway 95. From there, the defendant's phone activity tracks it heading back north towards Pullman, Washington, where the defendant lived. About 5:26, starting approximately 5:26, various surveillance cameras in Pullman, Washington pick up the defendant's vehicle as he enters Pullman from the south and heads north and slightly west towards his apartment, where he arrived at approximately 5:30 in the morning. Later that morning, Sunday, the 13th of November of 2022, Mr. Coberger's phone returned to the area of King Road. We don't know exactly what he did, but it returned to that area. It's about 9 o'clock in the morning. It was there for about 10 minutes and then returned to his Pullman residence. About 9:30, the state's evidence will show, evidence taken from the defendant's phone, that he took a selfie of himself on his phone in what appears to be the bathroom of his Pullman apartment with a thumbs up. The defendant's phone then went to the Lewiston-Clarkston Valley, approximately 30 miles south of Moscow and Pullman. And the defendant is actually seen with his car at various businesses down there. This area is the confluence of the Clearwater River and the Snake River. Lewiston is Idaho's seaport. Large bodies of moving water down there. In addition to tracing the defendant's activities, as I've just outlined, on the 13th and leading up to the 13th, the state's evidence will show that following Sunday, November 13th of 2022, business records show that the defendant began searching for a K-bar knife and a K-bar knife sheath, as the state believes, to replace the one that was left at the scene of the murders. The evidence also will suggest that there were at least attempts by the defendant to delete or alter his purchase history on Amazon, where all these transactions had occurred.
Hold on.
Later that week, the state's evidence will show that Mr. Coberger went to what we would call DMV.
Really? So Bryan then went out and bought a fucking new sheath and knife? Like, buddy. Okay.
Motor vehicle licensing here in Idaho, in Pullman, to change his car registration from Pennsylvania to Washington. That's of note because Pennsylvania cars do not require a front license plate. The vehicles seen on the surveillance cameras of the defendant's car showed it didn't have a front license plate on it. At the time of the traffic stop by Deputy Duke in August, it was Pennsylvania plate, no front license plate.
Whoa. That's actually, oh God, that is circumstantial as fuck. But wow. Wow, that's some big brain moves though. But ooh, buddy, woo. That and the deleting the history thing. Oof. Ugh. So
Mr. Coberger proceeded to finish his semester of studies at Washington State University and returned to Pennsylvania for the holidays. Law enforcement at this point were aware of Mr. Coberger, had been accessing information about him, were trying to find him. They located him in Pennsylvania, and they conducted what's called a trash pull. During the nighttime hours, agents of the FBI, who assisted immensely with this case, working with the sanitation department back in this neighborhood in Pennsylvania, took trash that had been set out on the street for collection, sent the contents of that from the Pennsylvania residence of the defendant's parents to the Idaho State Forensic Laboratory, where the lab experts there were able to identify DNA on a Q-tip as coming from the father of the person whose DNA was found on the knife sheath that was next to Madison Logan's body in the bed. Subsequently, an arrest warrant was issued here in Idaho, and a search warrant was issued in the state of Pennsylvania with the assistance not only of the FBI, but the Pennsylvania State Police. Mr. Coberger was arrested at his parents' home to return to Idaho. Upon his return to Idaho, a DNA sample was taken from him, and it matched the DNA found on the knife sheath next to Maddie's body at the crime scene. I can tell the court, in public, the weapon itself, the knife, has not yet been recovered. I can tell the court that the defendant's apartment in Pullman was searched, as well as his office. Spartan would be a kind characterization. There was virtually nothing there. Nothing of evidentiary value was found. And of course, we're now talking 6-8 weeks after the time of the killings. In Pennsylvania, the defendant's car was seized, and it was actually pretty much disassembled internally. And it also had been cleaned. There was a bucket of cleaner right beside it. I think
That's so. Wait, the car did get disassembled? Because wasn't one of the facts that we thought it was the car was in immaculate condition for being a dirty, shitty car? But I guess he tore it apart. Oof. Okay. Still, though, he tore the car apart and cleaned it all the way, which is like the first. They found no evidence in the car, which is mind-blowing. So, yeah.
we can all look to our own cars, in those compartments in the doors. We try to keep them clean where you put stuff. There's always some degree of crud in there. They were spotless. Vince's car had been meticulously cleaned inside. And the state would present to the jury that that was part of the defendant's plan in covering up this. The defendant has studied crime. In fact, he did a detailed paper on crime scene processing when he was working on his pre-doctorate degrees. And he had that knowledge and skill. So, Your Honor, at the end, the state submits that the evidence that I've given just a quick overview of, and that to present in court would consume weeks, which the state is prepared to do and has been prepared to do, would show that as the defendant has just admitted and pleaded guilty on November 13th, 2022, excuse me, Mr. Coberger entered the residence of 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho. He did that with the intent to kill. We will not represent that he intended to commit all of the murders that he did that night, but we know that that is what resulted, and that he then killed intentionally, willfully, deliberately, with premeditation, and with malice forethought, Maddie Mogan, Kaylee Gonzalez, Ethan Chapin, and Santa Cruz.
Oh my
Thank
God.
you.
Thank you.
Oh, is he really okay? Is he crying? Is this guy crying now?
Ethan Chapin and Santa Cruz.
Are you crying? Oh my God. Fucking theatrical grandstanding bullshit. Like, they weren't your fucking kids, homie. Jesus. Like, come on. Like, take a fucking tissue for your issue. That was just pathetic. But that was very in-depth. Yeah, it kind of sounds like Bryan, like when they found his car. Bucket of cleaning supplies next to it. Whoa. I'm still surprised they found nothing in the car trace evidence-wise, but hey, he must have done a good job.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Based on the state's proffer and importantly, based upon defendant's explicit admission to committing these crimes, the court finds there is a factual basis. Therefore, with respect to count one, burglary, felony, how do you plead, Mr. Coberger, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count two, murder in the first degree, as it relates to the...
Wow, they're making him do it after that. That's interesting. Normally, like here in Ohio, that's like comes after you plea out. So notice he's not contesting any of those facts. He's agreed, Chad, he's agreed to all of these facts in writing. So he agreed he's done all this.
Murder of Madison Mogan, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count three, as it relates to murder in the first degree for the murder of Kaylee Gonzalez, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count four, the first degree murder of Xana Kernodle, a human being, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Let's see here.
As to count 5, the first-degree murder of Ethan Chapin, a human being. How do you plead? Guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Chafin.
Right.
You guys are chafing? Ooh.
The court will find that the defendant understands the nature of the charges and each offense and the possible consequences to him of his guilty plea. Court finds that there is a factual basis for the plea and that finds the defendant believes the plea to be in his best interest. I find that the plea was given freely, voluntarily, and was intelligently made. I accept the plea. I direct that it be entered. I'll continue the matter for sentencing in this case. I think it was mentioned on the call Monday afternoon, the defense wishes to waive a pretrial investigation. Is that accurate?
Yes, Your Honor.
The state also?
Yes, Your Honor, the state does not believe pre-sentence investigation is needed, given the evidence that is available. We want to, though, make sure that all of the victims have the opportunity to make statements to the court at sentencing.
Absolutely. And certainly both the state and the defense may present whatever sentencing memorandum and other documents you wish me to consider. The victims will be given an opportunity to provide the statements that they wish to at sentencing. Do we need more than one full day for sentencing?
I do not believe so, Your Honor. Obviously, we have numerous victims, and we have victims who share unique perspectives on this, and we want to make sure that they all have time.
Like how, okay, other than like the families, are they going to bring in like, you know, one of them's like third grade teacher or some shit? Like how many fucking people are we actually going to have, Santa Claus? Like I get victims have a thing, but not everybody in the world's a fucking victim. This is the problem with victims. Everybody's a victim.
To express their feelings to the court, but I believe that if we can start perhaps 8:30 or so in the morning, that we should be able to complete it all in one day.
I understand the roommates, but it sounds like there's going to
in
be
terms of
more.
the time frame.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. So as it happens, we have some time reserved in this case in July and August. The week of July 22nd is available. I don't know if that's too soon
I love this judge. He's like, well, we got all this free time now.
for the parties, or the next week, the week of August 4 is available. Any preference?
Your Honor, we're prepared as soon as the court wants to schedule it.
The state, I believe, would be prepared on the 22nd. We've told the victims' families that we're looking at approximately those dates.
All right. So because of the plan to bring in so many jurors to fill out questionnaires, I had ordered that no other trials could take place in this courthouse the week of July 22nd. And so we will use that in terms of the sentencing date because of what I'm sure will be the significant interest of the media and the public and the logistics that will be required to make that happen. Without trials going, it'll be a lot easier to do that. So let's pick that week. Why don't we pick July 23rd with the idea that if for some reason we don't finish, we could continue into the 24th. We'll start at 9 in the morning. Does that give your team enough time, Sandra? 9 in the morning? All right. Any concerns with that date?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
No, sir.
All right. Any reason why I should not rescind the non-dissemination order at this time?
You're right. I think that given the history of this case, it would be best if that remained in place through sentencing. So we have time to make sure there's the ability to completely answer questions. That would be the state's preference and recommendation.
We'd have no objection for the order to remain in place through
All right.
sentencing.
I will, at this point, the idea to keep it until sentencing, which time it would be withdrawn in order to give the parties the space and time to prepare to meet what I'm sure will be the deluge of media requests. That's at least my preliminary decision at this point. We can always revisit if it seems to be for some reason, I should. That said, obviously, I don't think the defendant, a bond was ever set for the defendant. Were it would be revoked. The prior order allowing him to come in civilian clothes is revoked, given his plea and no longer the presumption of innocence. And in fact, now the actual conviction for the crimes. He will continue to be held at the jail pending sentencing. Is there anything else today?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
I assume that the trial date will be vacated
trial
and those
is-
4 jurors will be released.
The trial will be vacated, and I'm sure that the jury commissioner will get word to those that receive their summons that they won't be required to attend. So
Thank you, Your Honor.
that said, again, if you would all please wait for the parties and the victims' families and others to leave the courtroom before you do, I would appreciate it. And with that, we're adjourned.
Well, there we go, chat. Now there's oh wow, look, we can see ourselves on here. That's kind of funny. There was a Brian or the Casey Goncaves or Guns, whatever his name is. I don't know. Weird name. They ended up he ended up giving a talk. It was talking about the plea deal. And you know, if you guys want to see this guy,
But I wanted you to have your
hold on. So, you know, he's apparently going to get upset, but we'll listen to see like what parts of this are true, what parts are not true in the BS this guy was spewing about, you know, did he actually do it or what happened here? So yeah, and I was like, maybe he likes jail. Yeah. Yes. Gonsalves. Okay, there we go. Thank you. Gonsalves. There we go. I can handle that. The Gonsalves family. All right. There we go. Here we go.
say. I wanted you to be able to say out loud for everyone to hear what this means to you and your family.
This is anything but justice. This is the opposite of our will. There was no majority believing that this was acceptable.
Well,
I want to honor all the police officers, the FBI, and all the people that work their tail off. The failure is at the court level, 100%. But the men in the boots on the ground and
the failures at the prosecutor's office, not the court level. Reading at clouds.
the women that were out there working, I want to honor everything that they did for our children, 100%. The fault is in leadership and the people that you place this evidence upon. They were weak. They decided to play God and decide what this man's decision should be, and not a jury, not a peers, not his peers. They, so that's where we are today.
Walk me through what happened. Brian Enton, did some really great reporting at the top of this show here, but tell me from your perspective how the last 3 days have played out.
I would say ever since Hippler's demanded an independent investigation, they couldn't get away from this case fast enough. They've done everything to make this case go away. So I don't know what that entails, but he said he was going to have an independent investigator, and all of a sudden we seemed like we were on rails to get rid of this case and make a plea deal. I mean, he's guilty. We all know he's guilty. There's more than enough evidence, but it's tough. It's tough to put a community through this.
Well, I mean, yeah, they want the conviction. They want the bad man to go away.
And it could be bad for reputations and business identities, and there's fallout. But this isn't the will of the victims. This is just one person making a decision.
It's not about your will. There's a reason why you're not in charge of punishment and how to resolve cases. We don't do vigilante justice in America.
And it doesn't reflect what we were asking for.
Steve, did anybody ever call you from the prosecutor's office to just personally discuss this with you? Did anybody offer to meet with you in person to go over this potential plan?
We have meetings all the time on particularly a lot of times on Friday. No. We had this regular meeting that we have to try basically do an update of what's going on, where things are at, because Idaho is actually an amazing state where it really does care about people. We just get one or two, people who just don't care about the victims and don't care about justice. And it's easy to take the weight out. It's easy to make an excuse.
No, there is justice. The murderer's gone to prison forever. That's justice. Like, I get it. You want to go masturbate on his grave or something, but you don't get that. Like, you're getting justice, just not what you wanted. This, like, guys, look, I get he's hurting, but this is the epitome of tamponic driven logic. It's all feels right now. It's all feels.
And say, I'm doing this for the victims, even though I've never interviewed the victims. I've never really talked to them to find out what their true feelings are. So here we are. We're stuck, and we can't get out of it. I ask your audience if anybody knows Judge Hippler, reach out to him and ask him to put his foot down and not accept this offer. It doesn't reflect anything.
Notice he never came out and cried and said they never talked to us. He just doesn't like it. It's bitter little girl syndrome.
In Idaho, this is not justice. We had an outsider come to our community, kill our kids in their sleep while they're getting a college education, doing everything that they should do, and we don't have the courage to hold him accountable. No plea deal. Let's go for this guy. 100%. Let's do it. And that's how this family stands.
Steve, I know that, it's no secret your daughter, Kaylee, was so close with Maddie Mogan, best of friends. And I know that you got to know the Mogan family as well. Have you spoken with the Mogan family, and do you know what their reaction is to this plea decision?
We actually just had a meeting with the prosecution and just tore into it and made it clear that
So they did have a meeting. Once again, this is just he's just ringing it out, chat, ringing it out.
That we were not in support of this, but we also invited other families into that, and I'll let them speak on their own that were part of that meeting, but we are in no way alone on this. Multiple families believe the same as we do, but I want to honor their abilities to speak independently and as their child. So I don't want to cross that line, but all I will say is there was no majority for this decision at all.
So that means at least one of them, translation, at least one of them is okay with this.
If they're not working for us, they're working against us, guys. I mean, we have to wake up to this. I mean, we have to hold people accountable. Coeur d'Alene just had a shooting where we attacked our firemen. People need to stand up to these.
You're putting motherfuckers in prison. Like, once again, this guy's just ringing it out so hard, he's about to tear it in half. We need justice. Like, once again, do you yes. Is like, Deanna's right here. Or is Brian does he want Brian dragged out in the courtyard and he gets like raped to death with like axe handles? Like, this is where I want to ask this guy, what do you want to happen? Like, that's the thing. Does he want Brian raped to death in public? Like, what is it? Because, like, the process is working. Yeah, has he gone free? No. So, two of the families said they were okay. So you notice that he's got to be careful because he knows he can't say everything he wants to say. So again, he's got to pamp his tamp, and he won't. Apparently one of the brother is dating a YouTuber that follows the case. Their family does love the attention. I'm sure he does. You know, you matter for right now. You matter because Bryan Kohberger tickled your stepdaughter's spleen with a knife. Like, okay. You write your books now, homie.
These monsters and stop freaking bowing down to them and giving them childcare. I mean, prison is nothing but adult childcare. You get free vision, you get free.
Motherfucker, you ever been to jail? Listen to this shit. Like guys, you know, like this is something when like guys on the Pisco thing. I don't mind like Law and Order MAGA types out there, but acting like jail's fucking nice, it fucking sucks. It's horrible. Like, yeah, we don't put people. Yes, we don't let people die in jail. Yes, if we're going to forcibly keep someone somewhere, we have an obligation to make sure that they have proper medical care and dental care, and they don't just die of dysentery in prison. We do have some obligations. I know it's hard to believe, but prison overall is going to suck for Bryan Kohberger. He's going to be on 23-1 lockdown. He's going to live in the shoe. He's probably never going to he's going to get exercise in a concrete walled hell. And he's going to be restricted from meeting other inmates who might attack him. Like, no, prison is not fun, buddy. Like, what do you think happens? This isn't Norway where Anders Breivik can cry and he gets a PS5. No, it really sucks. It really sucks going to prison. Like, this is just nonsense here. This is BoomerCon nonsense. And like his feels are out of control and he's a boomer. Like, it's all just spiraling.
Dental, you get free meals, you get AC, room and board, cable TV, internet access. It's ridiculous what we give our prisoners.
What do you like? Where do you think this happens at, buddy? Where do you think there's internet access like that? You ever try to deal with a guy in prison and you do like a Gmail email? Like the emails for prison are fucking awful. You know, like what? Like they have a shitty, like clear cathode ray tube TV that they get to use. Like I don't know I don't know people like him have ever seen that. Like, you know, like hold on, here we go. Like the prison, like here, let's just look some of this shit up. You know, like the price list for, you know, let's see if we can bring up, because I know Ohio's, but here, like, they should have a, let me see here. Okay. You know, when you talk about this stuff, like here's what you get when you're in Idaho. You go to Access Secure Pack and you want some programs, like, yeah, like here. So this is what you're trying to do. Let's see here. Let's see if we can find Idaho DOC property program. Go to the program here. Go now. Let's see what we can find. Let's see what you can buy. How to order a package. You know, you can get fresh, you know, you can get meals prepared. Like, you get some shit. Like, but it's not very good overall, you guys. This shit is not very good here. Like, this stuff is fucking awful. What you can get to. You know, you're not getting a lot of different things here. Is Idaho a pay-to-stay state? I mean, I don't know. But, like, yeah, well, like, what is a delicious meal? Like, what does it actually mean? A succulent meal. You know, like, how do you do this? You know, like, it's just, none of this shit is easy. You know, like, it's all just garbage. Like, you want to see the commissary list for prison, guys? We've gone over this once in a while, but I know some of you in chat are new. There's all kinds of there's all kinds of things you can get. Like, there's only so much you have access to. And this is a guy who's talking about out in Idaho. This guy's talking about the Idaho stuff. Here in Idaho, here's what stuff cost. You know, when you're in custody levels, what do you have access to? Like, he's going to be able to get a set of sandals. You know, he can get a set of sandals for $20. You know, he can get a set of headphones. Maybe he'll get some sunglasses. I don't know. You know, like this shit is like expensive. He'll be able to get some basic. He'll get some basic things to care for him, but none of it's good. Like, this is the shit he gets to buy. This is the stuff you get to buy when you're in prison, guys. It's boring. It's awful. Yeah, when you watch these guys on YouTube, they have the prison cooking. Yeah, you know what? It's neat. They can make ice cream and shit like that, and I'm sure I'm sure they enjoy it. But you know what? Immediately when they're done eating it, they're like, "Fuck, I'm stuck in fucking prison." It's not good. It's not good. I mean, when you talk about like electronics, you know, you can get an alarm clock for $25. You know, you get an alarm clock that doesn't have a radio. You know, like this stuff is this stuff isn't like, it's awful. It's an awful life. You know, nobody in there is like, "Oh my God, it's the best thing ever." I mean, you have limited things, and these are not for everybody. Some of these are men only, some of these are women only. But these are like basic, you know, like you want, you know, pens. Remember these crappy pens, Chad? I told you about them all the time. The flexible non-stabby pens. You got to pay for those. You got to pay for tablets of paper, all kinds of stuff. None of, like, this is not a good life. This is not a good life. So no, this just, it sucks. Funky Monkey said he used to order women's shampoo. I mean, well, be careful about that. People might have different questions about that if you do it. Yeah, Thule Pip said she looked what you get for Zachary Anderson. Yeah, it sucks. It sucks. Can't you get one of those transparent Cayman radios? Yeah, you can. You get a TV you get a 15-inch TV that's made out of clear plastic so you can't hide stuff in it. Yeah. This is not good. This is not good. Can you buy a poster of Rita Hayworth? Yes, and then Raquel Welch. It's just stuff to think about. This guy's crying and whining. It's like, brother.
This is access. It's ridiculous what we give our prisoners. Better than what we treat our vets. Our vets coming back from war with missing limbs. This is unacceptable.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and down.
Wow, they washed him out. Damn. And then from here, there was a statement by Madison Mogan's family. They came out and gave a statement too, and it's like, here we go.
Good afternoon. I'm Leander James from the law firm of James, Vernon and Weeks in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. I'm a victims' rights attorney. For the past 2 years, I've had the privilege and the honor to provide pro bono representation in this criminal case for Karen Laramie and Scott Laramie, the loving mother and stepfather of Maddie Mogan. I will be reading a statement of gratitude today from the Laramies. 962 days ago, we lost our Maddie, our kind, loving, vivacious, and caring daughter full of purpose and promise. We are grateful for the gift of her life, and we have grieved the loss of that life during each of these 962 days. We love you, Maddie, and we miss you. We are grateful for the gift of the young, vivacious, promising lives of Kaylee, Xana, and Ethan. And we deeply, deeply mourn their senseless loss. We remain in solidarity with their families and friends, and we continue to shower them with our prayers and support. We are grateful for their prayers, love, and support that they have given us. They have helped us and sustained us during our darkest times. We are grateful to the prosecutor, Bill Thompson, and his dedicated and caring team, including victim coordinators.
See, this is poise in class. Even the fact they're using an attorney to read it, but notice, like they're not sitting there crying.
Kim and Stacy, who have helped to guide us through the sometimes confusing and disorienting legal process. Thank you for all your dedicated, diligent, and tireless commitment to justice and the successful outcome reached today. We support the plea agreement 100%. While we know there are some who do not support it, we ask that they respect our belief that this is the best outcome possible for the victims, their families, and the state of Idaho. We extend our deep gratitude to the many law enforcement officers and staff who worked tirelessly to obtain the critical evidence that brought justice today, including the Moscow Police Department, the FBI, the Idaho State Patrol, and the Lehigh County Sheriff's Department. We are deeply grateful to Judge Hippler and Judge John Judge before him. We thank you for your diligence, thoughtfulness, and judicial guidance. We appreciate the difficult work you have done to balance the rights of all involved and to uphold the rule of law. You have had our prayers and support throughout this case. We send our love and gratitude to the many family and friends who have supported us, cared for us, and helped us to heal our open emotional wounds. To the good people of North Idaho, who have showered us with kindness and support, we thank you.
I know. I thought
we
I heard
also
that
mourn
too.
today with you.
I thought I heard that too. But hey, you know what? Those people live up that way in Idaho. There are a lot of those people up there who would thank Hitler.
Tragic and senseless loss of two brave North Idaho firefighters. We extend our prayers and support to their families. You are not alone. We understand your pain. For all parents who have endured the loss of a child, we know recovery is a long and at times an almost unbearable journey. But you are not alone. And there is hope and there is healing. We thank those in the press who have respected our privacy and the grieving process, and the privacy and grieving process of the families of Kaylee, Xana, and Ethan. To others in the press, we gently encourage you to do the same. We thank the many people across our nation and beyond who have reached out to us, prayed for us, and extended their kindness. You too have helped us on our journey to heal. We now embark on a new path. We turn from tragedy and mourning. We turn from darkness and uncertainty of the legal process to the light of the future. We have closure. We embark on a path of hope and healing. We invite all of those who have mourned with us to join us, and we wish you well. Thank you. I will now share a few words of my own. Over the past 2 years, I've been
Oh my God, buddy. No. Yes, I'm sure he billed for writing his own statement, but it's like, brother, come on. You're the spokesman. You're representing the family. Nobody cares what you think, Lawyer Bob. Come on now. Come on now. I don't give a shit about your feelings, homie. You're getting that bag. I know you are.
amazed and humbled by Karen and Scott's strength, endurance, and faith. They have uplifted me and so many. They founded a nonprofit to help others in the name of Maddie. They have been a beacon of hope amidst a dark and tragic time. To those young and bright attorneys out there looking for purpose and meaning in your profession, I invite you to join the effort of crime victim attorneys to bring victims justice with compassion, empathy, humility, and understanding. This case is not the end of violence. This case is not the end of lawlessness. We need your help to bring hope and healing to the innocent caught in the crossfire of life. Thank you all.
Sir, could you just say your name one more time, sir?
Leander James, Leander, last name is James. Thank you.
Well, there you go, chat. You know, like, just, yes, the crossfire of life after these firemen just got murdered, like down the road from them, less than like 3 days ago, a couple firemen and police officers got shot apart, and he does that. It's like, come on, man, come on. So, does he get paid by the word? I don't know. Steve Gonsalves is grieving, but at a certain point, get a shrink. Yeah. But no, that was classy. That was poiseful. Like, I appreciate them doing that. Yeah, I mean, like it ended. Like, it's closure. It's over. Once again, like, that's why I wanted, these people are upset he pled. Like, what do they want? What do they want to happen? What do they want to happen? Michael Boyle says, I can call the White House and yell at the intern who answers the phone, but God forbid anyone inconveniences this court or his staff. Well, one of them's protected by law, and also you're now interfering in someone else's mess that's not yours. If you want to punish that judge, vote him out of office. But the court's not supposed to bend to the will of the masses or the public. You really don't want that. Because at some point, somebody's going to say, hey, Michael Boyle's an asshole. I don't want the judge cutting him slack. You know, that's going to suck if that happens. So that's why we don't fuck with the judicial process. It's supposed to be impartial. T from Laos saying, hypothetically, and oh, this is a very good hypothetical. If someone comes forward in the future and was responsible for the murders, can Bryan Kohberger get his sentence revoked? I mean, no, because he's admitting he did it. I mean, there's like it becomes an issue of whether people even believe the first guy who comes in and admits. So, you know, that's an issue there. So probably not. It's a good question though. Another one for $5 says, Sean, I hate to see Santa on Santa violence. Hey, we gotta regulate. We gotta regulate our kind. Ghost says no contest is not an option. Probably not. And the court might not accept a no contest either. Island saying this guy's problematic. He wants to be in charge of everyone, including the other families. I'm losing sympathy. Yeah, I don't have time for this. Once again, being a victim doesn't make you right. And that's a problem a lot of victims don't understand. You're a victim. That doesn't make you right. Jordan says, why have a trial if he will plead? I don't get this guy's point. To rip his daughter, of course. Yeah. I mean, do you really want to show the world your daughter's mutilated body everywhere? Do you really want to drag all that out for the world to see? I mean, it's a little weird. Weird flex, but okay. He lost his daughter. He's lashing out. Yeah, but it's been a couple of years. Like, I get it when it first happens, but after a while, man, you gotta act like an adult at some point. Yes, Bridget says this is the guy who pissed the judge off. I'm sure he did. I'm sure it did. Funky Monkey says, look up Cactus Annie. That shit's fire. Baby Cakes 420. Thank you for being here. I appreciate the super chat. Says, I think victims also take plea deals offensively. I see it in the comments often. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. It's a deal. We've reached an agreement. You know, like that's one. I remember one time, like, you know, like I've heard about this happening before. Like I've had cases where I was the defense attorney, and they're like, I don't want. And they came in and told you, I don't want a plea deal. It's like he pled to the indictment. We're agreeing on a sentence. Like we came to an agreement. Like I don't know how else you want us to call it. A mutual understanding and arrangement. Yeah, people need to learn chill. And Kayak Dog says, hey, potentially, put your money where your mouth is. Pledge to keep Brian in sandals and snacks for the rest of his life. Where did I say this is a good thing? It's like he's in prison. It's going to suck. Like, why do I have to support it? Are you, is this Steve? Is this Steve? I can, tell me where you're at. I'll Venmo you like $10. That should buy you a box. Box of the Premier Heavy Flow. Because otherwise, I don't understand your point. But we'll get you the finest. I mean, I don't know, women, can you guys double up on those? Like, is that something women can do? Or is it just like, I don't know how that works. So. Afton says, I don't know about the gag order, but the non-dissemination order still stands until sentencing. Yeah, but even then, it's pretty much like the judge isn't going to do anything. All the prosecutors who leaked information, that's never going to hurt. Nobody's going to get in trouble. So it's not like anybody's going to get in trouble. And then Bridget SG is a new member. Thank you, Bridget. Or is it Bridget? Brigitte? I don't know. I think it's Bridget. Thank you. And that is such a cute little puppers. Oh, that's a nice little lab. He's such a good boy. He looks like a good boy or a good girl. I'm not sure. But looks like a happy dog. No, you put a tampon in and a maxi pad if you feel adventurous. Okay. I mean, yeah, I don't have to worry about it. So, or it could be like South Park, you use the Cherokee hair tampons. Unlike law students, says it costs more than that nowadays. Oh, okay. $10, really? Box of tampons costs more than $10? Damn. Man, they're going after you guys. Slumdog says depends on your crevice size. Some women use 3 or 4 at a time. Jesus. I know you're wrong, but God, that sounds awful. Oh. Another says, where's Clyde? Yes, you can put in multiple tampons. I didn't think you could. I thought it was like one. It's like trying to put multiple bullets in the gun and like down the barrel at once. Like you have problems. So yeah, he pled guilty to everything he did. Yeah. So Sarah Brown is saying you're what? Well, I see you're saying about Melanie Little's chat, but here's the thing, guys. I enjoy Melanie Little. I enjoy your commentary. So I understand, like, the audiences may be different, but I still enjoy Melanie Little's content. The Cherokee hair is very absorbent. Yeah. The pink tax is real. Well, there's no really pink tax. It's like it's a thing only one set of people use. Now, there are like women's deodorant and shampoos and stuff. Yeah, sure. To be Plea is a new member. Thank you again. I appreciate it. Trey Broughton says, yeah, just take a bunch of Q-tips and like wrap them together. It's going to look like Escape from Alcatraz when he's sitting there soldering the spoon together and he's got the whole big bundle of matches and shit. Oh. You buy your tampons at Sam's Club. That's a lot of tampons. Oh, hold on, chat. Hold on. We have special guests tonight. We have Lainey. Hi, Lainey. It's okay. Aw, we have a special guest tonight. We got Lainey. Aw, hey, pretty girl. Hello. Hello. Hello, Lainey.
I'm right here. You're okay. This is fucking close.
Anyways, chat, now we have another guest, Clyde. Lainey was not having fun there, but Clyde is here now. Hold on, chat. Ah. Such a good boy. Such a good boy, chat. You don't understand. He's the goodest of boys. Okay. One table. Yes. A roll of paper towels. That sounds nasty. The baby's head is over 10 centimeters. You could put in more. Yeah, but you're not like always that big, I thought. So, ugh. I thought it retracts back down in size after the baby happens. Ugh, yes, there's the Clyde tax. Yes. The Clyde tax. The Clyde tax. Every time you stream that you gotta pay the Clyde tax. Yes, this is our Clyde tax here. So. Yes, she is very beautiful. She is a beautiful dog, but she is so nervous. So skittish. Especially like she doesn't not like it when I hold her, but she's even 2.0 holding her is just something she's just now getting used to. So what you think, Bubba? Can you do a woo? Woo. Do it. Come here, look at chat and go woo. No. Come on, buddy. Do it. Lady is very cute. She is. So, why was Ann Taylor smiling at the psycho killer? I mean, guys, because here's the thing. Like, I mean, that's somebody you've had a relationship with for 3 years. I mean, that's a thing. You develop a rapport with people. And I'm sure that they've had to have a difficult telling your client the game is up. And for Bryan Kohberger, I'm sure I doubt he came to them. I doubt he came to them. And I doubt he came to them and said, I want to be done. I'm sure they had to sit down with him and say, look, buddy, game over. Ain't nothing else we can do. I'm sure they point out, like, look, judge shot everything down. Like, we ain't got nothing. I mean, that's one of the toughest conversations to have with a client. Civil cases, criminal cases, like, we're done. It's a tough one. So, I mean, the fact he's accepted it probably makes things a little easier on him. Yes, there are the puppers. Yes. The famous astronaut, yes. So, what are these dogs doing out of the bathroom? Yes. Are they both recently from the groomer? Yes. Lainey got trimmed up this most recent time. A lot of times she just gets like bathed because her hair does not grow as fast. She doesn't get as bushy, but yes. Clyde a couple weeks ago had the groomer and yep, he still smells good. So baby head size tampons sound like an untapped market. Yes. So isn't the point of justice system to stop vendetta and revenge? Yes. Otherwise it would be never ending feuds. 100%. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff you have to think about. Like, let's say you did it and they killed the wrong person, or they killed Bryan Kohberger's dad accidentally. Then what happens? Well, Clyde has not rolled around in any pee, so that's why he still smells good. Do I think this is Brian's first time, or he done something before? Well, no, it's just for like he messed up. He left the sheath there. He left the sheath there. Remember, Chad, I tell you, police up your crime scene. Police it up. Police up your crime scene. I guarantee you, Brian went in there. He had the sheath on the knife. And you know what he didn't do? He didn't have that. He didn't tie down his equipment. Just like if you're doing helicopter ops and you're sitting in a helicopter and you're getting ready to drop someone, all your shit has to be tied down because, like, if your magazine flies loose off your gear, it smacks the tail rotor, you're toast. Everything's got to be tied down. You have to have full accountability of your gear. And Bryan Kohberger didn't have full accountability of his gear. I'm sure he walked in the house with that knife, the sheath on the knife, pulled it off and like shoved in his pocket or held it. And he's like, let's go. And he'd pull it off and he'd look at the camera. If it was like, there was a fourth wall, he'd be like, let's go to work. And, he just starts stabbing and, doing his thing. That's I'm sure he didn't keep track of it. Yeah. I mean, it's a big problem. It's a big problem. He didn't secure his gear. He didn't have accountability. So as he's like, die. Hey, how do you like this? He forgot it. He fucking left the sheath. He hadn't left the sheath. He probably would have got they would have had no DNA or anything to tie him to. It would have been a lot. Maybe they still would have found him, but it would have been a lot harder. A lot harder. So keep all your shit strapped down, chat. Squizgar is saying a tail rotor would probably survive a magazine striking it. I don't know, man. You wouldn't want to risk it. Like, I'll tell you, if you're a helicopter pilot and you walked up to one and said, hey, can I throw this into your tail rotor? They'd punch you in the face. So, yeah, everything. Yeah. Karen says, water's worse than air. Lanyards for everything. Yeah. Everything's tied down when you're doing ops. Brian didn't secure his gear properly. Remember, chat, sanitize your crime scenes. And that means sometimes you got to sanitize yourself. You got to do a shakedown. Like, is all my gear set? Am I going to lose it? You know, you gotta get things, buy them years in advance. Like, you know, like you gotta use the knives you have. Like, maybe you go to a Goodwill and buy a set of knives. Because nobody's ever gonna think to check a Goodwill for like a set of steak, like a butcher knife you bought at a Goodwill. Or you go to a garage sale somewhere, buy the knives at a garage sale. They'll never be able to track those. You know, you gotta do things that are off the beaten path. Is this advice? No, it's just stuff. Get that noggin jogging. Get that noggin jogging, chat. Get that noggin jogging. So, yeah, there's belt loops for a reason. Always use a checklist. Chugi Show is saying theories on why Baldo is silent. I'm sure things did not go the way he's planned lately. I'm sure he was in a manic mode and now he's come down off that and realized, uh-oh. So, Fenrir says, I've seen quite a bit strike tail rotors. Yes, but I'm sure if you ask pilots, they prefer nothing to strike the tail rotor. What did I think of the body cam footage that was released and posted on Alyssa Clips? That's pretty much what I assume it looks like. Yes, 2.0 says fucking hilarious, but I'm assuming that's what it was. I mean, till we know otherwise. For now, that is a true and honest account of what happened. Okay. Hold on 1 second, chat. Okay, chat. So with that said, we are going to send you guys over to Hella over at Excited Utterance. I have years of military experience. I don't, but I've talked to people who do. And I've asked, like, how do you do stuff? Like when you're in a helicopter, how do you do helicopter ops? And the guy explained it. And he's like, the biggest thing is all your shit's got to be tied down. I said, why? He's like, you can't let it, that shit can't go flying around the helicopter like a pinball. And then he said, number 2 thing is don't shoot the rotors. Because when the helicopter turns sideways and it's making a turn, the rotors, and you're looking out straight ahead, the rotors are going to be right here in your face. Don't shoot the rotors. And he said, those are the 2 big things. Tie everything down, don't shoot the rotors, and then number 3 is don't fall out. Because that's going to be really bad. So I've asked people. I learned stuff. We had a Black Hawk crash because a rope got a tree and thrown in the main rotor. Yeah, that can happen too. As Busta Rhymes says, you have to check yourself before you wreck yourself.
I think your birthday gifts are here. So do you want to open them like a month early?
Hold on 1 second. Wait, you like your birthday gifts for me, or like these guys shit stirring birthday gifts?
No.
Well, no, because if I do it now, then I don't have any birthday gifts.
Yeah, but so
Yeah, this is a problem. Like, this is a problem for me in 2.0. If I get her stuff, I'm like, you got to open it now. And she's like, you got to open your birthday presents now. And I'm like,
the one, because the other, there's 3. There's 3.
Okay.
2 of them are related. I think only one of those came. But
How about you figure out what's there and give me the
I
unrelated?
think you should open it on the model stream tonight.
Okay, how about you figure out what's what before I open it and accidentally figure out what everything is?
Okay.
All right. I love you, baby. I love you, mon chéri. Karen says, for not being in the military, I have way too much knowledge about the military. I like learning stuff. You buy everything at a Goodwill in Wyoming. I mean, yeah, I'm just saying, like, you got to think about it. New title stream, Minecraft advice from a defense attorney. Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah. You're taking notes? Yeah. If I did it, well. Oh. You have a question about the Ricada order. What about it? We'll go over the Ricada order at the HRO tomorrow night, guys. Justice Smith is reenactment's 100% on point. It's not a reenactment. It is a live video feed of that. That's the body cam footage. That's not a reenactment. That is a 100% authentic copy of what happened. That's how it looked. Don't you dare think otherwise. It is 100% legit. It's like this Zapruder film. So if Nick violated the RO and he got a misdemeanor for it, yeah, that would jeopardize his probation. New criminal activity is a big deal. Yes, that could be a big problem. Jojo says all that comes in handy. Yeah, there you go. Jefferson Post says prop planes can only shoot through props due to mechanical timers. Yes, interrupter gears. But that's different when you're dealing with like a machine gun that's actually wired into the system and not somebody sitting in a helicopter shooting a untimed weapon. It's very different. Presence on camera, let's go. Well, I don't want to open them all. No. Am I the big 40 now? Not yet. No. Okay, no, we're not doing. That's way too big. We need to get some.
the right one.
Okay, we'll do it
This is
later.
the one to do it. So,
We'll do it later for the model stuff because guys, we'll do some models later tonight.
but maybe you can convince people like they bribe the people if they want to see it because
Okay,
they
fine.
would like it.
Hold on here, chat.
Do not show our address.
I'm not. Okay, chat. God, I don't know what the hell this is, but
It's heavy.
and this is not our.
So
That's not our address. So suffer a logs. It's not our address. Is it a 13-inch block rubber fist? I mean, knowing her, yes, it could be that.
But I feel like we need to grift this.
Yeah, if you guys want to see it, you're gonna have to show up at the model stream, and we're gonna have to meet the goal. We're gonna pull a DSP.
I don't know what the goal is.
We're gonna pull a DSP, but no, I'm not 40 yet. Not until August. Not until August 10th. Did I ever model the thong from last stream? What would I gotta model it on? Like I'd have to model it on my head. It won't fit on me. Oh, let's see here. EDW Raptor says I'm a body cam expert. It looked real to me. Yes. Yes. So Bob John says, "Will I defend you at the Hague?" Yes. Once again, it's not a reenactment. It's what happened. It's body cam footage. So, wait, is it really my birthday this time? Not till August 10th. We have another month. But 2.0 does this, so I'm going to have to watch it now. Medicare showed his address. It's cool to show yours. No, I'd rather not. 5852 is the PO box. That number is something from the guy who shipped it, not us. Is it a huge dildo? Yeah, it's a coiled up dildo. It's like a fire hose. Is it ticking? Not yet. Hopefully it is. Yeah, $50 and I'll eat the package. Yes, go to Realistic Clips and you can see the body cam, chat. It's over there. Ashley says, have you ever had pizza from Best Pizza? Yes, we have. They're good. There are better places around, but yeah, they're not bad. I am a Leo, yes. What time's the model stream? 9 o'clock. 2.0, I need to sit down. We're going to have dinner, and I got to, clean up in here a little bit. There's some, kind of got shit everywhere. I need to clean up a little bit because we were busy. I'm trying to redo some of the wall, if you guys haven't noticed. And, yeah, I pulled off the panels, and this one pulled off a little bit of paint. So I have to, repaint and stuff, but we're trying to work on doing stuff here. So, so it looks the same to me. Yeah, well, we're trying to fix it. And so, yeah, oops. It'll be fine. Yes. So 9 p.m., that means 10 p.m. No, it'll be at 9. So give the ceiling fan a re. Yes. It's Celine Dion's brother. It's his brother. It's Celine Dion's brother. Yes. Now, if you guys didn't realize, yes, this is a small bedroom that we use for the studio, the Beat Lab, as it were. So, Just get a light blue gray Sharpie, it'll match. And then we have the paint. I just need to slap it on there. So painting is torture if you want it to look professional. No, it's not. It's not that hard. I love painting. He's got to be able to cut. You got to be a good cut man. You got to be able to steady when you hold that paintbrush. It's not that bad. Not that bad. So. Says Baby Cake says, do you think we can get Baked Alaska to sign off on the body cam release? I think so. I think so. Very, very timely put. Are you sure the ceiling fan's not going to hurt the cats? No. They'll stay out of the way. The prepping, man, all the sanding and cleaning. Yeah, but it'll be all right. This is properly painted before, and just it takes a little bit of prep work, a little bit of sanding, a little bit of cleaning, and it'll look like $1 million. So I'm not too worried. I am not too worried. I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good on that. So we're all set, guys. I'm going to send you over to Hella. Make sure you tell her I said hello, and hope you guys are doing well. Once again, 9 o'clock chat will be over at the model stream, and that is at, we'll chat. The mods have the thing there on the model bench. And we're going to work on something. I'll open this, and then I was going to try to figure out how to do some pedestal stuff for the bolt action guys. Who is Hella Excited Utterance. So that is who she's an Aussie. She's a YouTuber from the future. If you didn't know, according to her song, that's if you don't know her, that's who she is. Okay. And let me see. We're going to set this up, and we're going to get you guys going here. Oh, there's only one T. That's why. Excited utterance. Yep, there we go. All right, guys. So we're all set. I will see you guys in about an hour. Take care, chat. And remember, until next time, well, just because you did it does not mean you're guilty. But Bryan Kohberger, I guess he's guilty. Diddy, guilty-ish. So we'll see. We'll see. You guys take care, and I will see you guys in a little while. And then also, if you guys are new, remember, we have the Thursday night show, 9:30. We got a lot to talk about. A lot of fun stuff to talk about, chat. So I'll see you guys then. Take care.
Weapons, blacksmithing, and models of planes, esoteric works, and even some trains. Much merriment had while drinking White Claws, tips on hunting, and even talking the law. Whatever you do, just don't talk to cops, even when they nab you on illegal stops. Just 'cause you did it doesn't mean you're guilty, but please talk to a local attorney. Was that the fat guy that Kaden yelled at?